Joe Rogan Podcast. Check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day.
Yeah.
Disclosure Day. Very interesting.
Yeah. I'm excited for
rolling?
that.
Yeah, he was always like way ahead of the curve when it comes to the whole UAP, UFO stuff. You know, with Close Encounters of the Third Kind, he had that French scientist that was essentially modeled after Jacques Vallée.
Yeah.
He's always been... I would love to talk to him. I wonder how much he knows.
Is that an accident? Was he fed some information? Was he a part of disclosure the whole time? That's what I've always wondered.
I mean, what does that mean, right? Because there hasn't really been disclosure.
No, but it has to be a slow process too, right?
You think so?
I don't think... I mean, the whole idea is that they're just sort of normalizing it, right? Mm-hmm. Neuro-linguistic programming, they call it, where you're slowly getting people accustomed to these ideas. Like the aspects of Close Encounters, for instance, where you have the radiation burns on the guy's face. You have a time travel component where these World War II soldiers get out of the craft with the little beans and the bigger bean. And I mean, just seeding our culture with those little bits of information that might help later on down the road.
That was like in the 70s, wasn't it? Like, when was Close Encounters?
Yeah, I think it was.
Was it the 70s?
Late 70s, early 80s, maybe.
Yeah.
Either way, I mean, like a lot of stuff he's done. Like I rewatched what was it? Jeff Bridges' Starman, I think. There's a lot of elements of disclosure in that too. Like, I think there's just, I don't know. I mean, obviously we don't know who's pulling the strings. We don't know what's going on. We don't know who's in charge. But it does make sense that if there is this thing that they know about, that we're supposed to know about, leak it out, do it slowly, get it in our culture, get it in our media in different ways.
You know the Hal Puthoff story, right, with George Bush? Do you know the story where they were talking about... Okay, Hal talked about it on my podcast, but he also talked about it in the Age of Disclosure documentary where they brought in him and a bunch of different prominent thinkers.
I watched that episode, and I watched the doco,
So
too.
to people that don't know, I'll just explain it. So they brought in him and a bunch of other prominent thinkers, and they sat them down and said, essentially, we have recovered crashed UFOs. We have biological remains of these creatures. We are considering releasing it to the public, and we want to make an assessment of what are the pros and what are the cons. So we want to assign a numerical value that, you know, you're estimating what kind of an impact it would be on government, finances, religion, etc.
About whether they should do it, basically.
Right, whether or not they should release this information. And all of the people that were brought in came to the agreement that there was more con than there were pro, and that formed their decision to not release it.
And didn't he say at first, like, he was pro-disclosure? He was like, of course we should do this. And then after the conversation, he switched teams and...
Yeah, I don't know about that. Maybe, perhaps.
I thought he said that he went into it thinking, well, yeah, obviously we should do this, and then sort of was convinced otherwise after the conversation unfolded.
Yeah, how could you be convinced? Like, whose decision should it be? If some people know, everyone should know.
Yeah,
it's a humanity decision. I don't think it should be
in
anybody's in anybody's hands
No.
to decide whether or not this information gets distributed.
And the implications too, if they have 0 point energy. Like, how would that solve the problems that we face today? There's so many ramifications of it that, whose decision is it and why has it been kept from us? I don't buy that whole, like, Orson Welles 1938 everybody freak out bullshit. I don't think that's the case, at least not anymore. There's got to be something more to it than that.
It would certainly have, I don't know if they factor this in, but a uniting element. Like, you remember the Reagan speech where he gave in front of the United Nations where he said, imagine how united we would be. We'd forget our differences if we were faced with an alien threat from another world. Mm-hmm. I mean, just knowing that we are all united. I mean, how old are you?
47.
Okay, so you remember September 11th.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that happened after September 11th was it was a horrible tragedy, but there was a beautiful result temporarily where everybody was really united. Like, really united. Like, there was American flags in everybody's car in Los Angeles. You know, like the most ridiculous, progressive, sort of kind of, you know, kind of fucked up place. But everybody became patriotic.
Yeah.
And in New York, everyone was friendly. I mean, people were smiling and saying hi to each other on the streets. We had all decided that we were together and that we were faced with a real threat and that we had to be united. And
I remember it well. Yeah. You're right. And then, not to get too weird too fast here, but if there are aspects of sort of an all-encompassing consciousness that unites us associated with the UFO phenomenon too, if we recognize that we are just fingerprints on the same hand, we're all iterations of the same overarching consciousness, if seemingly there's a part of that in the UFO phenomenon.
yeah,
So
seemingly.
how would that unite us as well, even beyond the threat from outside? Like if we did start to understand that we're all part of the same sort of cosmic community. Sounds kind of weird to say that.
It does
but
sound weird, but have you seen the Apple show Pluribus?
No, it comes up a lot. Worth watching?
It's really good.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's very, very original, very unique. But that is essentially what happens, and it has a negative aspect to it.
Huh.
There's
How
a
so?
virus. I don't want to give away too much
Oh,
of it
yeah,
for
true.
people that want to watch the show because it's a really good show. But there's a virus that they get a signal from another world, and they figure out what this signal is. And through this lab work, they reveal that this signal is some sort of the encoding of a specific virus. They work on this specific virus, it spreads, and the entire planet becomes one consciousness, except for a small number of people.
Interesting.
It's a weird show. It's a really good show.
That's
I
a cool
don't want to
premise.
explain any more of it like that
Yeah.
without any spoiler alerts, but it's fucking great. But it's strange. It's like, wouldn't that be better? There's no crime, there's no this, there's no that, but and then it reveals all the problems that come along with that.
Yeah, I'm going to have to watch that as a counterpoint, if anything else, because it makes sense to me that if everyone's kind of united as one
Yeah.
super organism of sorts, but
But you lose all individuality.
Yeah.
You lose all the fun parts about being an imperfect person.
Right.
Because we are an imperfect species, but that's also what makes great art. That's what makes great music. It's what
Yeah.
makes great
the
fun.
most creative people have the most trauma in their past, from what I've seen.
And if you have zero trauma, you probably have sucky art.
It's just stick figures and shit.
I mean, I wonder why would be. I mean, if they would even have a need for it. I mean,
No,
sort
because
of
it's an
art is like an
expression. It's getting your angry out. you
right,
know?
or your angst, or your anxiety, or depression, whatever it is. You're getting something out.
I was telling my son that the other day. Avi's his name. It's hard being in these bodies, especially going through puberty. You're just like, what is this thing I'm carrying? This little meat suit, And I was like, man, I was the same way, still am the same way. And I picked up instruments. I started painting. I learned to play every sport I could physically play. Like, there's ways to get that out, But it seems like a lot of that does come from just the anxiety and the angst.
Sure.
And you're growing into yourself. You're starting to get the feels. You look at women differently. And it's like, what do I do with this?
Well, it rechanges, it rewires the entire way you view the world.
Mm-hmm.
And meanwhile, your body is physically changing and growing. You're like, what am I going to look like eventually? This is weird.
It's so weird. There's actually this, in a small island in the Pacific, they have this weird characteristic where they start out as females. Everybody does. We all start out as females in utero. And then maleness is imposed on the developing fetus. But they don't until puberty because they're not sensitive to dihydrotestosterone, the precursor to testosterone. So they grow up their entire life as girls, and then at puberty they turn into a boy.
So they get raised as girls?
They are girls. They're physically
But they have
girls.
penises.
Not yet. Nope.
What?
The
This
clitoris-
is a planet? I mean, this is...
This is an
what
island.
is this?
It's an island in the South Pacific. It's called pseudo-hermaphroditism. It's the
What?
weird. I know. I learned about this in grad
So
school.
what
and I
do
was
they
like,
look
what the-
like
They look
before
like
they-
girls.
What?
Exactly like girls. They are girls. And then the ovaries descend as testicles, and the clitoris grows out into a penis.
What?
So you think puberty's hard enough already? These people turn into the opposite sex at age like 12 or 13. It's wild, man.
So is this a bizarre genetic anomaly? Is this something to do with
Yeah, so a lot of times
environment?
on islands you get like really strange characteristics of people because of the isolation, and those characteristics get selected just through genetic drift alone because it's a small population. So just probably one person had this really weird trait where they're insensitive to dihydrotestosterone, and then it spread throughout more of the population. Wow. It doesn't do anything. It's not something natural selection would select against. It's just weird as shit.
What is the name of this island?
I don't remember the name of the island, but the condition's called.
Find it?
I think it's Malo Island in Vanuatu or something.
That sound. Oh yeah, Vanuatu.
How many people are on that island?
This says there's a population in 1979 of 2,300 people.
Yeah, and think
But
historically,
there's two
like
different kinds of people there or something. It says too.
Yeah,
Two
there's
different
this-
kinds of
Two
people?
cultural groups.
Isn't that wild though, man? I remember hearing about that in grad school at Ohio State, and I was just like, I'm sorry, what? Like, what
So
the fuck
strange.
did you just say?
I'm sure you've seen those people, the ostrich feet people in Africa.
Uh-uh.
It's a very strange genetic anomaly where they don't grow toes. They essentially have two very wide appendages.
Weird.
Yeah, they look. It looks like a weird bird foot. It's very strange, but a bunch of people in this particular tribe share this trait.
Is there any advantage, or it's like this
No,
where it
it's a
just
good
kind of
question.
happened and
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what advantage there would be. Maybe it's
maybe it's
Maybe
really
you-
sexy to them. It's just like
maybe you could move better with it. I don't know. It's
it
that's what
doesn't
they look
seem
like.
Whoa!
Yeah,
I don't know how I haven't seen that. That's wild.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
I mean, it is kind of sexy.
If that's what you're into, dog. I wonder
never
how
been a
long
feet
that's
guy,
been going
actually.
on for. Vadoma.
See, that seems
Yeah.
like more of like a defect that just worked toward fixity in the population. Maybe not.
Well, it just
fixity,
makes
but-
you wonder, like, why don't we? It's in Zimbabwe, apparently. Why don't we all have that? You know, like, what is the reason why we have all these toes? That it's called electrodactyl.
Yeah.
Electrodactyly.
I mean, historically, prehistorically, evolutionarily, I should say, if you did have something like that and you were a hunter-gatherer, you're kind of boned. You know, you're not going to be able to run after gazelles.
I don't
and,
know.
like-
Maybe you can. It's like
They
it says their
look-
feet are well adapted to the Zambazi, not Zimbabwe. Zambazi Valley's rough terrain, allowing them to move quickly and efficiently through the landscape.
All right, I take it back. I guess
Well,
it
it kind of
does
makes
have an
sense, right?
advantage.
Because what it's saying is that their bones are fused. If you scroll up, it'll say the condition affecting ostrich-footed tribe, a genetic mutation passed down through generations, causes the bones in the feet to fuse, resulting in a claw-like structure with two large toes. Toes are very vulnerable. I don't know if you've ever broken a toe, but it's
I broke one an hour before I got on the plane to come here.
really.
If you could see my left foot,
Oh, that's hilarious.
that's ridiculous. Like the whole thing is just purple.
Yeah, they're so small.
Yeah,
like my
they're
pinky
so
toe,
dumb.
I was messing around with my pinky toe the other day because I have to trim my toenails, right? And the pinky toenails is like barely a nail. It's so tiny. And I'm like, God, this little thing is so vulnerable and it has to support my entire body weight or part of my entire body weight.
Yeah, they're so dumb.
Oh, yeah.
You can see that. It's
Your
all
foot's
like,
jacked.
yeah, dude. That was like right before I was coming down here. I'm like, you gotta
Ouch.
be kidding me.
That
What are the
sucks.
odds of that?
Yeah. Well, I've broken a bunch of toes. It's very, very annoying.
It's so annoying.
And you would imagine if you had two giant fucking elbow bones down there instead of these bitchy ass little toesies.
No, maybe that's why they did it. Maybe that's what they got going on.
Kind of makes sense that would be an adaptation.
Invincible feet.
Yeah. Well, you know, we're so vulnerable. And that's one of the weirder things. Like, so first we should get into what you do because you have a very interesting theory. Tell everybody what your background is first of all.
Yeah, all right. That does seem like a good place to start. My background is in anthropology, biological anthropology. My research mostly focuses on evolutionary anatomy, biomedicine. I've done some archaeology, various places around the world in Montana. But the reason I'm here, I assume, because according to my friend Matt, we were butchering a mule deer, I think I shot. And I was like, yeah, I got to go to this conference. And I was like, do you want to know what it's about? He's like, nobody gives a shit about what you do other than UFOs, man. I was like, damn it, he's right. Like, I did actually used to do a lot of what I thought was cool stuff. But no, the main thing is that I've become known for advocating for this idea that UFOs and the aliens are actually our time-traveling future human descendants. I wouldn't even say as opposed to extraterrestrials because I do think that's a component too. I oftentimes get pigeonholed. People are like, oh, you just think they're all time travelers. I don't. I actually say this all the time, but it doesn't matter. I do think there's a lot going on. But my background and the reason I approach this question this way is because there's a lot of characteristics of these aliens that look so hominin. They look just like us. And specifically what we'd expect to see in our hominin future if the same evolutionary trends continue into the future. So I kind of just tie those things together. And even the saucer-shaped craft seemingly are time machines themselves. So that's kind of the Cliff Notes version.
Well, it's a theory that a lot of people have independently sort of come to, right?
Yeah,
Like,
especially recently.
and the concept of if you just think about ancient man. I was watching this documentary on Neanderthals last night about this one intact Neanderthal skeleton that they found it had sort of been he had died in a cave, and there's stalagmites. Is stalactites or mites? How do you say it?
Tights are up, mites are down.
So he was essentially mineralized.
Mm-hmm.
There was stuff all over the body, and it took a long time for them to break this body.
I think I saw that. Was that on Netflix?
No, I was watching it on YouTube. Maybe originally it was on
okay.
Netflix, but it was just documenting how strange this body was that they had found. But it was immensely strong, like much stronger than us. One of the interesting things was that their visual cortex, the part of the brain that would process imagery, was larger than ours, 10 to 20% larger.
Yeah.
And that so these things probably had better eyesight than us, perhaps even were able to see at night. And that this was a bigger, stronger version of a human being, like much more durable than what we are, modern 2025 Homo sapiens.
Yep.
If you just look, that's it. So that's one of them.
Cool.
Neither human nor Neanderthal.
Oh, really?
This is published in
Is this the
August.
same? This might not be the same one. This is maybe a different one. That's a weird one because what's that fucking thing on its head?
That's what it says. It's a stalactite growing out of it or something.
Wow. In a weird form. Weird.
Yeah, it's like a unicorn.
Yeah, like a
So
crest.
They do have a sagittal ridge.
Yes.
Homo erectus had one. There's an offshoot in our hominid lineage called the Paranthropus or robust Australopithecines, and they had a full-on like gorilla style sagittal ridge. Yeah, because they were vegetarians, so they just chewed all day.
Right, so they had massive muscles to chew.
Yeah, their whole face is huge.
Wow.
Neanderthals they were just big. It's
Yeah.
just a robusticity thing, but there is evidence from Shanidar Cave in Iraq where they were using their teeth as tools. We think they were like tanning hides. They were holding the hide in their mouth and then like scraping all the nasty bits off.
Oh.
And you can see that in the tooth wear. So yeah, they were pretty badass. They were the first. I don't know. I think this is cool, but a lot of people think I'm a nerd too. They were the first to use the flake. Like for 2.8 million years, we just hit a piece of rock and like, oh, this is a cool tool. But then they figured out that if you hit the rock in just the right way, the piece that falls off makes an even better tool. It took us like 2.5. Yeah,
this.
Exactly.
You make an arrowhead.
And from that point on, like I got to work at a place called Chez Pinot Jonzac in southern France for a summer, and it was a Neanderthal site. And we found these. Actually, it's pretty funny because when we first got there, these tools called MTA hand axes, Mousteri, and it was Schulian tradition hand axes. And there were only 8 found in all of Europe. And they said, if you guys find one of these, we'll buy you all the beer and all the cognac you can drink. So we're in the cognac region of France. And we found one like the 4th or 5th day. We went on to find 7 more over the course of that week. We doubled the number of these things in existence
Wow.
in all of Europe. And they were not lying. They bought us so many damn beers. Like archaeologists like to drink. You know,
I'm
that's,
sure.
we dig and it's boring as hell. You know, it's not Indiana Jones. We're not running around banging hot chicks and flying on planes. We're like, we got a spoon and we're doing this for 8 hours. So, I actually found the last one on the last day and it was by far the worst one. Like I had to argue that it should even count as one of these. But yeah, no, it was a cool site. So yeah, they were doing well, but we were doing better. We came in and replaced them.
Something happened where we replaced them.
Yeah.
But this is an ad for BetterHelp. The holidays come with a lot of traditions, gathering with family, cooking those once-a-year recipes, and leaning into the little rituals that bring everyone together. That's something I always look forward to. But there's another tradition I think we should all start doing during the holidays, and that's taking some time for ourselves. This season, you do so many things for the other people in your life. You plan get-togethers around everyone's schedule. You spend hours picking out the right gifts and cooking the right food, but you also deserve just as much attention. Otherwise, you'll burn yourself out. So do yourself a favor and take some me time. Go on a hunting trip. Have a quiet night with a book. Maybe even schedule a session with a therapist. Therapy is an extremely effective way to make sure you're focusing on what you need. And BetterHelp can easily set you up. They have access to a wide network of fully qualified therapists, and they do a lot of the work for you. Even if that first match isn't a good fit, you can easily switch to another therapist. This December, start a new tradition by taking care of you. Our listeners get 10% off at betterhelp.com/JRE. That's betterhelp.com/JRE. The point is, as time goes on, humans today are probably the most feeble version of humans that have ever existed.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And we're the most feeble versions of people that have existed within the last century, right? Like if you go back to humans from the 1920s versus humans from the 2020s, people have way less testosterone now, way higher instances of miscarriages, way lower sperm count. You know, there's a lot of factors that are at play right now that are changing what a human is. And if you extrapolate, if you look at the future, you would naturally say, well, we're probably going to be very thin. It seems like there's at least some sort of a push to eliminate gender. Like gender seems like it's on the table as whether or not it's even necessary. There's all sorts of new technological innovations that are leading to the possibility, at least sometime in the future, of an artificial womb. There's genetic engineering with CRISPR and a lot of other different technologies that are being explored that we might be able to engineer human beings and then even create a complete individual human being without a mother, without a father. So if you thought about what that looks like in the future, like one of our problems on this planet is we all have different ideologies, different religions, come from different parts of the world. We look different. And human beings, as tribal primates, have a tendency to other. We other different tribes. Those are not us. We are us. Those are the enemy. We go out.
You rally around it.
But if everybody's exactly the same and we share one mind, you know, then a lot of our problems go away. Yeah. If we no longer have to compete for resources, we no longer have the desire to procreate and to acquire land and to be, you know, to have a territory, we eliminate a lot of our issues. And that's what these things look like. When you look at the archetypal, these iconic sort of shapes that have been on cave walls all the way up to Close Encounters of the Third Kind, one thing they share is that they have no muscle, they have large heads, they have big eyes.
And they're childlike. They're very paedomorphic, as we say. Yeah, you just tied together like a lot of really important points related to this theory. Aspects of why they're always interested in our gametes, why they come back and put that little machine on a man to collect semen, why they're constantly taking eggs from females and implanting fetuses, pulling them back out later. Like they're clearly focused on reproduction, gamete extraction, and one of the things that might be fueling that in the future, if these are future humans, let's just assume for a second hypothetically, is that they might be having problems directly resulting from these trends toward self-domestication, these trends toward feminization, these trends toward reduced sperm counts, which is 60% across most populations of the world, in the industrialized world, 50% across the entire world. Problems with reproduction, in vitro fertilization, exogenesis chambers might help solve some of those problems, growing the fetus outside of the body. So and like you said, you know, what do they look like? They look like kind of a hybrid between males and females to some extent, but there's still an essence of gender. Like if you talk to Whitley Strieber, you know, he's with this being, he says in Communion that I had a sense that she was a woman. I don't know why, but I kind of sensed that. So it's almost like the essence of the individual, the soul of the individual still retains that sort of gender identity, even though our bodies are becoming more childlike, more gender indiscriminate. I don't know. But yeah, yet another one of those ways in which we might sort of grow together as a species.
Now, when you say they are extracting sperm, like how many of these stories do you take seriously? There's a lot of these stories.
It's a great question, yeah.
You know, there's unfortunately for any sort of spectacular public thing that's in the zeitgeist, like alien abduction, whether it's Whitley Strieber from Communion or the John Mack books, the guy from Harvard that wrote, what was it, Abduction?
Passport to the Cosmos and Abduction,
Yeah.
2 great books.
Great books, but these are all books about encounters, close encounters of the third kind with some sort of a being from another place. Whatever it is, it's just not a human being, and it seems to be technologically at least superior to us.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to be one thing they all seem to share is they seem to be able to communicate telekinetically or telepathically.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, they aren't human, but they're very human too. So for instance, like that's one of the main reasons I started exploring this. I was actually kind of put into this when I was 8 or 9 years old, sort of activated in a way and put on this path by a weird thing that happened to me when I was a kid.
What happened to you?
Well, so I talk about it in my first 2 books, Identified Flying Objects and the Extratempestrial Model, where I learned about a close encounter that my dad had. He was a veterinarian in Northeast Ohio where I grew up. And he was out one night on a call with another guy. So there's 2 people. As far as Jalen Hynek's reliability scale, it has more reliability because there's multiple witnesses. It's also strange on his scale because they crested the hill. There's a bright light. This is an Amish country. There's no lights in Amish country. And all of a sudden, this bright light darts toward them, hovers just above their truck, darts back to where it was, and straight up into space, like at incredible speed. So this happened before I was born, but I overheard him telling this story to some friends one night. He got Whitley Strieber's book Communion, as most people did in the 1980s, and as they should, because it's a great book. And I walked into the living room. The book is sitting on the shelf facing out. And I remember, like it was yesterday, I sort of stopped, and there was like this light, like a white light. And then I saw this image in my mind of like an early hominid chimpanzee-like creature, a modern human, and then that archetypal gray alien from the cover with this information. What if they're related? What if they are us from the future? And obviously, I mean, that's why I became a biological anthropologist. People are always like,
so you saw this?
Yeah. It was like a flash, like a light. And, it's weird looking back on it because I know a lot more about these experiences. I've talked to people that have had these types of experiences.
What was the setting?
It was our living room. So it was like you come in the front door and just to the left there's this living room, built-in bookshelf, Whitley's books right there. I just turned the corner, saw it, and then like just kind of it just came. Like I didn't know shit about evolutionary biology.
When
I
you
didn't
say
know
you
about
saw
UFOs.
it, you saw it how?
In my mind. Just this white light.
Just an image.
And that image of the 3 faces. And then the question, could they be us from the future? And a lot of people are like, how'd you get into UFOs? Like, you're a biological anthropologist. It's the opposite. I got into biological anthropology to research this question of whether they could be us from the future.
Huh. So this you felt like at that moment it wasn't just like a weird thought or a dream. It felt like a message. Like, what did it feel like?
Yeah. It was a tasking. I think Rupert Sheldrake said it that people don't have ideas. Ideas have people. I think that was like hey, go do this thing. And I did. That's why we're here now, talking about it. And obviously, you got to be careful about like selection bias and confirmation bias. Like I didn't go into this. I didn't go into grad school. I also didn't tell anybody in grad school I was there because they would have kicked me out. But I went into it with an open mind, but I was there to study these things because of that event when I was 8 years old.
Wow. Yeah, it is a problem, the confirmation bias. It is a problem with wanting it to be real. And I struggle with that because I desperately want it to be real. And so every time I talk to someone, I've talked to a bunch of people that are, air quote, whistleblowers. And some of them, I think, for sure, have been sent in here to distribute disinformation.
Yeah, no doubt.
For sure, because it's a great place to do it.
Yeah.
I'll listen to you.
Yeah.
I'll entertain almost anything.
Which is great. We need that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, obviously there's people that are going to take advantage of it.
But I think it's also important for me to say I'm not convinced.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much of this is horseshit, but it's not zero.
No.
It's not
And that was your
0%.
question is how do I
Yeah.
differentiate among these different cases? I do draw from Hynek's in his book, The UFO Experience. He lists out how we all should approach this based on the reliability scale and the strangeness scale. Jacques Vallée also drew from that, helped him develop it as part of the Invisible College and all of his work. But regardless of like my own personal discernment, 'cause my second book, The Extratempestrial Model, is about 30 case studies, 15 main case studies, but then I pull in other ones. And it explores the different theories. Obviously, the main one being this extratempestrial idea, this future, which, by the way, I saw the word of the day today was anachronistic. And I was like, man, that would have been a way better word than extratempestrial, which everybody struggles with. I could have called them anachronauts.
Ooh.
Doesn't that sound cool?
That does sound
Anachronauts.
cool. Ooh, that sounds really cool.
I know. What the hell was I thinking, man?
Well,
anyway.
you live, you learn.
But so one of the most commonly reported things across all cases, regardless of whether you think it's bullshit or you think this definitely happened, is they really want our sperm. They really need or want our reproductive material, our gametes. And it's funny because when I wrote my first book I started in 2012, published it in 2019. Right at the end, I did an interview, and someone was like, "Have you heard of Jim Peniston?" I'm like, "No," which is kind of a failing on my behalf. I'll admit that one. It turns out, so it was the Rendlesham Forest incident. He touched this craft. He got this binary code, and he, when deciphering the binary code, they legitimately, specifically said, "We are you from the future. We're having problems with reproduction." He underwent hypnotic regression. "We're having problems with reproduction, and we need this genetic material to help ourselves." You know, a lot of people are like, well, why are they coming back and doing stuff to us? I think they're coming back and getting stuff from us because of problems they're having, largely related to what you were talking about earlier with the reduced sperm counts, the problem with female infertility. What if we do try to create the perfect human specimen, or we try to cure these genetic diseases through genetic manipulation, CRISPR, and we screw something up? We might have to come back. We can't go to another planet. There aren't people on these planets. We can't go and sample gametes from these other places. We might have to go into our past to get those wild type, unmanipulated gametes in order to fix these problems.
God, that's a crazy level of technological sophistication, the ability to venture back in time and somehow or another not fuck up the timeline that's leading to, I mean, this is the problem that's always been theorized about time travel. Anything that you do, if you went back in time, any interactions, you would completely change how the future would play out.
In the many worlds interpretation,
Yes.
yeah. So that idea is unfortunately very pervasive, and mostly because of Back to the Future, which I think ruined the brains of most people.
Mine too.
Certainly in my generation. But what most physicists don't agree on many things. But most agree that we live in what's called a block universe, landscape time, block time, where if you imagine all moments from the very beginning of the Big Bang to the end of the universe, where all matter disappears into like a black hole or contracts or whatever it does, all moments are already there. They exist as this massive four-dimensional block of all moments, all world lines, everything. So you go back into the past as you perceive it, you can do whatever you want. You can walk around, step on butterflies, slap people on the face, kick over, dinosaurs or whatever. I don't think we can go back that far, but you could do anything you want, and it doesn't change anything because you're going back in the block universe and doing those things you were always already going to do. And when you get home, everything's the same because that was already their past. To everybody that stayed behind, that was already their past. It was only the future for you to go back and do those things that you were already going to do. And then you just went and did them, get home, everything's the same because you were always going to do those things in the first place.
That's bizarre. That's hard
and
to swallow.
If that is the actual model of the universe, and again, I can only work, in writing these books, I can only work from what we know now. Clearly there's a lot of things we don't know. I'm not claiming to know anything beyond what we can know right now. But physicists, despite not knowing what time is, they know it's an emergent phenomenon. There's something more fundamental that time comes from. But they do agree on this block universe model. And in that case, there is no paradox.
How do they all agree on that? Like, wouldn't you have to test that and come up with some sort of a hypothesis and then try to prove it or disprove it? Like
You're
how-
right. I shouldn't say they all agree, because there is the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, where if you went back in that situation, it would be change. You would be changing the timeline. Would it be changing your timeline, or would it be changing a different timeline is the question. And how would you know? There's more paradoxes with changing things than not changing things.
Why do you confidently state that you don't think that they can go back to the dinosaur age?
Partly because three different reasons. One, I think they need tremendously high speed in order to be able to go back into the past. So basically, again, working from all I can work from in this time with the limited primitive primate knowledge that I have in the year 2012 to 2025, I basically just started with Einstein's theory of relativity, which he published in 1905 on the electrodynamics of moving bodies. And then in 1915, he published his paper on general relativity. From that point on, almost instantly, there were solutions to his field equations that showed, with the right parameters of a massively highly energetic rotating ring or sphere or disk, that you could create closed time-like curves, that you could actually orient light cones back toward the past so you can physically go into the past. And we saw this with Lenz and Thurine in like 1917 and 18.
Kurt Gödel.
Gödel universe was not
Yeah.
long after, in I think the 20s maybe. And then importantly in 1970s, you had Frank Tipler, who showed mathematically that you can shrink that down to a disk. He actually called it a disk. And this is one of the reasons I think that these are time machines, is because it has all of the parameters described by Frank Tipler. He wasn't talking about UFOs, but they seemingly have the ability to jump in and out of time. They appear and disappear. And I'm talking too much, so I'll wrap this up in a second. But
You're definitely not talking too much.
well, I mean, we're here to talk, but
Yeah.
I have an internal trigger where I'm like, shut up, masters, you're talking too much.
Don't listen to that trigger. Let it roll.
So anyway, if you look at the history of how we understand backward time travel, what I think they're doing is that I think they're combining general relativity and special relativity. So I think they're orienting the light cones toward the past by rotating these things really, really fast. You hear that all the time. They power up, they're spinning, or at least there's some sort of flywheel on the outside that's spinning. I think that's what's allowing them to move toward the past, and then pew, they take off. So it's that high speed that I think allows them to go further into the past. So you're aware of the twins paradox, I'm sure. Time dilation, where you have two twins, they're the same age, and then one goes into a spaceship, they move at tremendously high speed, they come back, and they're much younger than their twin because time moved faster back on Earth. I think they're using that high-speed motion while light cones are oriented toward the past in order to travel deeper into the past through that process of time dilation. There are limits to how fast we can go. Einstein was very adamant about this because there's an increase in inertial forces the faster you go relative to the speed of light. That's why he thought we could never go. That's why he thought that anything with mass could never go faster than the speed of light. Light can do it because it's a wave or a particle or both. So I think there's a limit to how fast we can go. The other reason is because Jim Penniston in this hypnotic regression said that. He's like, we can only go 40 to 60,000 years into the past or we might not get back. You also have, and this is a more speculative one, so take it for what it's worth, you also have the Dan Burrish testimony of this J-Rod, this allegedly captured alien, who said, we're from the future. We are you from the future, and we're from about 55 to 60,000 years in your future. So those three things together are why I don't think we could go back 65 million years to hunt dinosaurs, which actually would be kind of fun.
When you talk about going the speed of light, you're talking about not traditional propulsion, but some form of propulsion that allows you to go at insane speeds.
Yeah, electromagnetic is what it seems to be. And importantly, the electromagnetic force is 10 to the 40 times more powerful than gravity. So not only do I think that's what they use to fly, I think that's what they use to manipulate space-time. Actually, in Dan Farah, I think you just had him on too, The Age of Disclosure.
Yes.
There's this really cool thing at the end where Hal Puthoff and I think Eric Davis as well were talking about this space-time bubble, right? A really weird thing happened. We can get to that in a second. But I don't want to jump around too much because I'll lose people and myself probably. But this space-time bubble that they form around the craft, I think is also indicative of the fact that they're manipulating space-time, that they're traveling in and out of time. They use it to hide in plain sight. They manipulate the rate at which they move relative to us in their frame of reference, and they're moving fast all around us. And they've slowed time down outside of that bubble, so everything is really, really slow to them, and they can easily evade our bullets and our missiles, but we don't see them because we don't have that frame rate of perception. And if you slow videos down, I'm sure you've seen these all the time, where there's like a zzz, and then you slow it down and you can see this saucer-shaped craft moving slowly across the sky once you slow down the frame rate. But a really funny thing happened because I've never actually talked about this with anyone before. I owe a lot of the fact that anybody even knows who I am to Hal Puthoff. When I first started talking about this publicly in 2018, and then I published my book in 2019, Identified Flying Objects, he, I guess, reached out to the head of MUFON at the time, who was putting together the 50th anniversary MUFON event, and was like, hey, you should have this Mike Masters guy come talk. And I found that out from the head of MUFON. He's like, hey, just so you know, Hal Puthoff, of all people, recommended I contact you. I had no idea who that is, so I get on the internet, I Google Hal Puthoff. He also put Jesse Michaels, mutual friend, in touch with me after, I think he did an interview with him and Weinstein. I forget his name.
Eric?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he did an interview with those two. I guess Hal was like, hey, you should reach out to Mike Masters. And he did, and we talked, and we've done stuff together. But what was cool is that at the end of that Age of Disclosure film, when he's talking about this space-time bubble, I thought back to after my first book came out, and I was contacted by someone who claimed to be an ex-intelligence person who explained that exact same thing to me back in 2019, that these things aren't doing 10,000 G maneuvers that would crush anything inside. To them, in their frame of reference, what they feel is completely different than what we see. Because in that space-time bubble, they can be moving at 50,000 miles an hour, do a right-hand turn, and it would splatter anything inside because of the G-forces. That's what we see on the outside. But in that space-time bubble, they probably feel 1, 2 Gs at the most. So I started thinking, man, was that Hal? Did Hal reach out to me with like a different email address and say, hey, just so you know, this is how these things are happening. This is how they're able to do it. And I was a dumbass. I still am a dumbass. But I was an extra big dumbass back then. And I was like, oh, cool, thanks, man. You know, like a story went viral about my books, and Fox News picked it up, and space.com. And so I was going through a bunch of emails. They recognized I wasn't getting what they were saying. I was not picking up what they were putting down. And they were like, no, this is important. Said it again, and then it clicked. I was like, oh, yeah, that makes perfect sense. They're manipulating the rate at which time passes in this bubble around the craft, and we see something completely different.
So when we're seeing this, we are imagining what we can do. And we're sort of saying, well, what would be an advanced version of what we can do? And what this technology is something that's levels of magnitude beyond even our theoretical, like any sort of idea that we have currently about, you know, potential future timelines of technology.
Yeah.
There's no one talking about gravity bubbles that allow you to instantaneously traverse immense gaps in the universe.
Well, they might be talking about it behind closed doors at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
Right.
And have been for 70 years,
yeah, that's
give or
the problem.
take.
That's the real problem with disclosure. Like, how much progress could we have made if they had opened up all this stuff? And you got to imagine if you were an intelligent life form from another planet. You know, Diana Pasulka talked about, her and Gary Nolan talked about how they refer to some of these things as donations. Mm-hmm. They don't think of them as crashed vehicles because some of them are not crashed. They're completely intact. And
I think David Grush said that too, didn't he?
Yeah, I believe he did.
Yeah.
And even, you know, Lazar, when he was talking about it,
yeah, the sports model. Mm-hmm. Wasn't that fully intact too?
Fully intact, yeah. Fully intact and operational, and apparently they flew it around.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Well, that was one of the reasons, you know, the whole story how he got caught. It's a really crazy story. So He used to work at Los Alamos. He was a propulsions expert. Guy put a jet engine on the back of a Honda. He was a real freak. He made a hydrogen Corvette in like the 1990s. He was a nutty dude.
Clearly an engineer.
Yes.
That part checks out.
So he gets this job on Area S4 and goes there. And it's all documented in Jeremy Corbell's excellent movie, Bob Lazar, Area 51 and Flying Saucers. So he goes there and sees this thing, and it's got a American flag sticker on it. And, they basically say, tell us how it works. And he's like, oh, this is ours, because he sees it has a sticker on it. And then he realizes this is made out of some completely unknown alloy. There's no seams in it. It seems to be 3D printed. There's no controls inside of it. It's designed for something that's 3 feet tall. It's all very fucking weird. So he's working on this thing, not making much headway at all. They understood that there was an element 115, that was not even on the periodic table. Eventually found to actually be a thing by the Large Hadron Collider. But even then, they only measured it for a millisecond, right? So then he's saying that they have this stable version of this element, and you bombard it with radiation, and it creates this sort of gravity drive. He's working on this thing, and it's all top secret, so he cannot tell his wife. So they're calling him up at 10 o'clock, like, hey, get to the airport. We need you. And so he would have to fly out at random times, fly out to S4, and his wife was like, this motherfucker's having an affair. Well, I'm going to have an affair too. So she starts fucking her flight attendant or a flight instructor. I think that's what it was. When you have that kind of clearance, they are monitoring everything. They're monitoring all your phone calls. So they've realized that his wife is having an affair, and they think that he will be emotionally unstable, and it's too dangerous to have him working on this insanely top secret information if he's not stable. So they tell him, we're going to at least temporarily relieve you of your duties. So he's freaked out, and he tells his friends, like, hey, this is what they're doing there.
Yeah.
They have these things, and they fly them every Wednesday. I'm going to take you guys. There's an area we can go watch. So he takes his friends out there on 2 separate occasions, I believe. They get caught. He gets arrested. They release him, and he realizes, like, I'm kind of fucked. They might kill me. Yeah. I'm going to have to go public with this. Contacts George Knapp.
I did see that.
Then the whole thing is history.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's wild, man. And I think... And it's still happening. There's still these whistleblowers.
Well, he says they used to fly them, and you could go watch them fly these things. And they were moving in these really weird ways across the sky that you cannot do with conventional aircraft, that they only sort of understood how to, like, pick it up and put it down. They didn't understand how to, like, really
That was out at
around.
Groom Lake, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember as a kid. I've obviously been into this for a long time. I remember as a kid seeing videos of people going out, and then they eventually closed it down. You couldn't get to that spot, but there was like
that was during the Obama administration. During the Obama administration, they actually had to admit that Area 51 was real, because before that, no one even knew it was real. I mean, that was always just a joke, like Area 51 was like for fun. But then they said, no, it is real, and we need to expand the forbidden boundary.
Yeah, and isn't that when people were gonna like bum rush it too? Is that when that happened?
That was during COVID.
Oh, okay.
During COVID, there was a bunch of dorks that were like, we're going to crash Area 51. That's a good way to die,
Exactly.
kids. They'll fucking kill you.
Hey, natural selection.
Yeah,
man.
they're working on a lot of stuff out there, and some of it is weapons.
Right.
They can't have you internet dorks from Reddit just running out into Area 51.
Yeah, I think they eventually realized that, because I don't think they went out there, but it could have been bad.
I think it was all bullshit. They weren't going to. What are you going to do? How are you going to get out
clickbait,
there? Yeah.
Engagement farming. Yeah, man, there's a lot of crazy shit that's been going on. It's been going on for a while. Jamie and I were talking beforehand about the stovepiping too, and all the
stovepiping.
The different ways that they compartmentalize what they're doing, and they talked about it in Age of Disclosure too. That's a big problem, because certain people are working on these parts of the craft to reverse engineer them, to understand them, but they don't have the whole picture.
Lazar was talking about that from the 1980s.
Yeah.
In 1989, he said the people that are working on metallurgy were not in contact with the people that are working on propulsion, and you weren't. He's like, science cannot operate like that.
Yeah, no, it can't, because you need to know what's going on beyond just this little part that
Right.
you're working on.
And if you have a bunch of people that are sharing information, you get a much more comprehensive understanding
Exactly.
of what this thing is.
Yeah, we all benefit from communication.
Right, because there could be something involved in the actual structure of it that
Yeah.
lends to its ability to do something. It might not be simply just structure. It might be
Yeah.
structure with some sort of an ability.
Yeah, you can't see the forest through the trees in these situations, and it's unfortunate. And what the argument they made in this doco is that we're putting ourselves at a disadvantage because other countries have probably retrieved these things too, and they might be working on it, yes, in secrecy. But if people are working together,
Right.
and not stovepiping this thing
Right.
ad infinitum, then they might be able to actually make more progress faster than us. So part of the disclosure push is to be like, yeah, these things are real. We have them. Let's get our best scientists together to work on this holistically instead of compartmentalizing everything.
Well, just imagine if they had done that from 1947, where we would be.
Exactly.
If that's real. If Roswell was real, if all the crash was real, if Philip Drake Corso is correct, and all these people are telling the truth.
I know, and we still have to preface these things with if it's real, if it's real, and yeah, I do the same thing. I mean, as coming from academia, when I wrote my first book, I had to be like, if this is real, but it's hard. It's this paradox of sorts because how do you write to explain something that isn't real?
Right.
You know? What's the point of even doing that?
Yeah.
So I think we have to assume. I'm actually teaching a class at Montana Tech this spring called UFOs, History, and Science.
Ooh, I would take that if I was in school.
I think it's
be
going to
like,
be a lot of
"Fuck
fun.
yeah."
I know. I'm pretty stoked about it. And I had these artists design a poster in Norway and the UK, and just this crazy. Like I was like, how conservative should I be with this? Like just a UFO, and I gave them total artistic freedom. And there's like an alien holding the Earth, and this UFO swinging around. I'm like, all right, I guess that's what I'm doing. Plastered it all over campus to
Yeah.
recruit people to take the class. But like I'm going in on day one. We're not gonna fuck around with like, are these things real? We're not gonna waste time on that. We're gonna jump in. These are real. Here's what we're doing. This is what we know. This is what we don't know. Explore the theories. Explore the history. Explore the prehistory. Because it's a waste of time. Like these things are real.
You
know?
think they're real?
I know.
What
they are.
makes you convinced?
I have read enough accounts in researching this and from people that I know. I mean, starting from when I was a kid, hearing my biological father's account, the way he told it. And then I interviewed him again in college to try to get more information because I was just overhearing from the stairs when I was supposed to be in bed. He saw what he saw. And then eventually, I saw some UFOs.
What did you see?
I was kind of pissed, actually, because I started talking about this in 2018, and people were always like, you ever seen a UFO? No, never seen a UFO. I'd like to. And then finally, in 2022, it might have been late 2021. I don't remember exactly when. It was kind of warmish, so it was probably 2021. But everybody's in bed. I'm at my house. I live in a canyon, and I was having a whiskey, and I was like, I just walked up the canyon wall for some reason, like the hill behind my house. I don't really know why. I turned around, and I could see these 5 super bright lights over what's known as the East Ridge in Butte, Montana. They were just like sitting there right over the East Ridge. I was like, well, that's not normal. Those aren't usually there. And they weren't stars. They're way too big, way too close. I would say they were probably within 5 to 8 miles. They were in the distance, but they were like there. And then I just kind of looked at them for a second, like, oh, that's weird. And then one by one, from right to left, they just went phew, phew, shot off toward the southeast at like crazy speed. Like the kind of like in Star Wars or Star Trek, how they hit hyperdrive and
Right.
there's that little light trail, like just one by one until they were all gone. That I have no conventional explanation for that.
Wow.
But I've never been one of those people that's like, I need to see it to believe it.
Right.
Because I believe the people who say the same thing over and over. There's patterns that we can extract from people's testaments who have had these close encounters. And that's one unfortunate thing that's happening right now is we're talking about the pilots, talking about police. But people have been seeing these forever, but they did such a good job manufacturing the stigma around it with Project Sign, Project Grudge, Project Blue Book to discount these people, to make them seem insane.
That is one of the main points of evidence that I would point to that there is something. When people think there isn't something, I'm just like, you should really pay attention to what they were trying to do during Project Blue Book.
Yeah.
Because I have a buddy of mine, my friend Steve Graham, shout out to Steve. When he was a boy, he was living in New York, upstate New York, and he filmed this red orb that was flying across the sky, and he took some photographs of it. And they called some officials somewhere. I don't remember. He was very young, and they said, "We are going to analyze the photos, and then we'll bring them back to you." And they never returned the photographs. When he called, he said, "No agents. There's no record of any agents coming to visit you. We don't know what to tell you." So they just took his photos, and that was it. But he said, whatever it was, he was young. I believe he was 10 or 11. And he said, whatever it was really weird. He goes, it was this red orb that was flying through the sky. It was a spacecraft. It wasn't a sun. It wasn't a meteor. It looked like it was moving purposely and under control. And it was there long enough for him to take a Polaroid of it. Yeah. And they just completely erased any memory of it or any evidence of it. When he called, like I said, they said no agents visited you. Whatever the agent's name were, there was no agents by that name.
That's kind of the status quo.
But they try to make you look like a fool.
Absolutely, and that was intentional. Like the stated mission of Project Grudge was to debunk these things, come up with conventional explanations, and make people seem like idiots.
Right. It wasn't to investigate.
No, not at all.
The purpose wasn't, let's get to the bottom of this, find out, is this Russia? Is Russia doing this? That was not the purpose. The purpose was make these people look like fools. Yeah. You only do that if you know something that other people don't.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Monster Ultra. Everybody knows the white Monster. That clean white can, zero sugar, crisp. It's everywhere lately. Gyms, your favorite convenience store, studios, you name it. I see people toss it into their bag before training or a long drive. Big flavor, zero sugar, that same Monster energy kick. But Ultra didn't stop there. There's a whole lineup now. Vice Guava, Blue Hawaiian, and the new Wild Passion. My favorite is Strawberry Dreams. It's smooth and sweet with a touch of tart strawberry flavor. Ooh. And if you're loyal to the white can, cool. Just know that you've got options. Visit monsterenergy.com to learn more.
And it worked.
Yeah.
They did a damn good job at it because we still feel like fools talking about this.
Oh, yeah.
And we still have to check ourselves and be like, is this real? If this is real,
Right.
But I think that shame is starting to diminish. I think the stigma is starting to go away.
Well, I think the New York Times article from
That was
2017
huge. Absolutely.
was huge. Yeah.
That was a game changer.
That was a big one.
Yeah.
And then from then on, it's been this trickle. These guys like Ryan Graves and, guys like David Faber. These David Faber's guys that was, he was in a fighter jet, saw this thing move from 50,000 feet above sea level to sea level in less than a second.
Yeah.
And they saw this thing. There was something under the water below it. It's like whatever he saw. And if you've ever talked to him, have you ever talked to him?
I've talked to Alex Dietrich, who was with him during that.
He's a very reliable guy and very intelligent, by the book, very disciplined.
I mean, he was like a Top Gun pilot. Like he was leading the whole group, right?
Yeah, he's a commander.
Yeah.
So, and when he describes it, it sounds very real. Whatever he's talking about, he experienced. I believe that. And there's also video of it. There's video of it flying. They have the radar data. They know that it went to their designated meetup point.
The cap point.
Yeah. Which is really weird.
It is. And it indicates they knew the future. Or they were part of our military.
Right.
I kind of wonder if the Tic Tac, because it is somewhat anomalous in the context of a lot of things in the UFO lore, as far as spinning discs or big triangular craft, this one kind of seems like one of ours.
Well, it is odd that these things happen where there's a lot of military training exercises. Like this one was off the coast of San Diego.
Yeah.
It was off the Nimitz, so they had the Nimitz, which was out there. Obviously, you got a lot of military in San Diego.
And the Roosevelt, too,
Right.
I think, is where they were capturing the radar. Right?
And the ones that Ryan Grave experienced were all East Coast. Again, it's all near military bases. It's all where they do military training exercises.
Yeah, and why not figure out what you can do with people that you train with already anyway?
Right.
You know?
And why not see like what is detectable and what's not. You know,
Yeah.
Ryan Graves talks about how in 2014 they upgraded all of the sensors in the jets, and then all of a sudden they started picking these things up all over the place.
Yeah.
He said they were encountering them virtually every time they went out, which is so weird. Imagine you're encountering, was it a circle inside of a sphere or a sphere inside of a circle?
I think it was a circle and a sphere.
Yeah, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Which one was it? Was it a circle and a sphere?
It was. I just saw a
Can't
picture on
remember.
Twitter recently.
Okay.
It was a little circle and then a cube or something.
Very fucking weird, whatever that is. And
It is,
able
and-
to hover motionless in like 200 knots of wind.
Yeah, and it would make sense if we are reverse engineering these. They're going to look pretty primitive. It's basically a big propane tank that they're flying around. Like they probably started simple. It's probably unmanned, but they're testing that capability to like manipulate the space time to shoot off. You know, because it dropped 80,000
Okay,
feet
that's
in a
what it
couple
supposedly
seconds.
looks
Yeah.
like. A cube
Oh, I had it
inside of a
backwards.
sphere. Yeah, I can remember.
Apparently, my dyslexia extends to images too. 'Cause
Explained using UFO patents. Click on that. Explained. A recent article by The Hill has highlighted the reports of a cube and a sphere UAP military pilots have been seeing, as reported by Graves, where he once again highlights how often our pilots are seeing these things and why he doesn't believe they are conventional drones or balloons. And so this is obviously some sort of a computer-generated rendition. The fucking pop-up.
yeah, for sure. But
so
I mean,
UFO
yeah, they didn't get a
patents.
picture of it, but
here's the patents. Scroll up a little bit. So a month ago, I did a deep dive on a post about UFO patents, how magnetohydrodynamic propulsion systems could explain some of the observations. Includes an expired patent from the 1960s and a few newer patents describing not only the propulsion, but how the plasma field can make the craft invisible to radar.
yeah. I mean, again, it makes sense. Like if we have been reverse engineering these for 70 years, we would start bringing them out. They would look weird. They wouldn't necessarily look like the craft that we struggled to fly at Groom Lake that we could go up and down with, and that's about it. Like they would look like this little thing that's simple. It's basic.
Yeah.
It's a propane tank, or it's a cube within a sphere. I probably had that backwards again. And then experiment with it, see what you can do. And a lot of people make the argument, well, why would they do that? It's dangerous. You know, what if there was a midair collision? If they are actually manipulating space-time in these things, like they seemingly are with the saucer-shaped craft, you don't have to worry about that. You know, this isn't a cat and mouse game where the cat and mouse are equal. Like you have complete control of space-time in and around that area. You're not going to run into anybody. They're all moving extremely slowly relative to you, according to Puthoff and Davis at the end of that doco. And whoever reached out to me, whether it was Hal or not, somebody reached out to me and explained this same thing in 2019, and it makes a lot of damn sense. And to kind of extend it into my area of research, if you can manipulate space and time in and around this craft, what's keeping you from using that to travel through time?
I guess. I mean, but again, that's with the different model, not the multi-worlds model, but what was the other model that you described?
Block universe.
Block
The
universe
block
model.
universe theory.
Yeah. The idea that they would be so advanced that they could genetically engineer a body and get to whatever state they are at where they communicate telepathically, but yet they can't solve the problem of old DNA, like needing. What do they need? Genetic diversity? Like, what is it? What are they trying to get out of us? Are they trying to get the source material instead of the old stuff, or instead of the stuff that they've had forever?
One of the arguments I made in my first and second books is that really since European colonialism starting about 500 years ago, we are all becoming one interbreeding population. So it used to be that you had different isolated populations, and then occasionally there would be gene flow that introduces new genes. If we all are just one population on this inbred island of Earth, where are you going to get new gene variants? And then you combine that with the things we just talked about, with the potential for things to go wrong with trying to make designer babies, or the trends toward reduced fertility in men and women, and importantly, the potential that there could be some massive cataclysm that puts us into a huge bottleneck where there just is no genetic diversity at all. Like if you think about something that happened that wiped out a huge percentage of the population, and there are warnings about this over and over again with experiencers and contactees, they're like, there's some cataclysmic thing coming. If that were to happen, all of those problems we're already having, all of the trends that are already leading to us having problems with fertility in the future will be hugely exacerbated by a very limited gene pool.
Well, we know that human beings have gotten down to a very small population in the
before.
past.
Yeah.
So we're
already kind of limited
in
our diversity.
What do you think of the theory that human beings have been genetically engineered?
Man, when I first started in all this, I wouldn't touch that one because I had to impose some restrictions on myself so I didn't seem like a crazy person.
And keep your academic standing?
Yeah. I don't really care anymore, to be honest.
Well, you sold a few books.
Yeah, I sold some books. I mean, that's the thing is like, I do have the respect of my peers. You know,
and
like
it's not a career killer anymore.
No, exactly.
No.
You know, back in 2018, I was kind of rolling the dice. I was really nervous about it. I went to the chair of my department and was like, hey, just so you know, in case there's any pushback, I'm publishing this book about whether, UFOs are future humans. And he looked at me and cocked his head. And it's like, that's our job. That's what we're supposed to be doing, asking questions like that. Like, he was all pissed off. Like, why are you even asking me this or telling me this?
Well, that's a cool guy to work for.
I was like, sweet. All right. Well, check. I got one. I got one on board at least. But I was really conservative in this approach. Like the dean actually of my college, who gave me an award for scholarship and researchers, and there's a lot of amazing researchers at Montana Technological University. Like we're very well known for research and scholarship. She gave me an award in 2022 for research and scholarship, and all I was doing at that point was UFO stuff. That was kind of a nod too. But she was telling me the other day in a meeting, because I'm the chair of the department, unfortunately, and she was like, oh, your dissertation book, because I did kind of write my first book as a dissertation. It's very scientific, it's very dense, it's very technical, but I needed to do that because of the stigma, because of the shame. And you're right, it is changing, which is great, but there are certain things that we still can't, that are hard for me to talk about because it starts to get into ancient aliens territory, and that's one of them. Are they manipulating us genetically? Have they been for a long time? I don't know. I used to say I don't know so I didn't have to talk about it. Now I say I don't know because I genuinely don't know. Maybe.
Well, how could you?
How could I? Yeah, good point.
Yeah, I mean, it's all theoretical. But there seems to be a trend in at least the encounter reports. There's when people have reported some sort of communication with these things, there's a lot of talk of genetic manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of talk of...
It's the most common trope.
Yeah.
Thing.
But it also makes sense when you look at how different we are than any other animal that exists or has existed.
True.
We're so advanced and so weird, and we vary so much, like biologically and structurally. I mean, there's animals, like there's different kinds of wolves, right? There's gray wolves and red wolves, and they vary. And, red wolves and gray wolves, they can't even interbreed and create viable offspring in terms of like their ability. Like they would be hybrids if they did breed, where they wouldn't, but they don't. They don't breed with red wolves. And coyotes, which is also a type of wolf. But that's kind of where it ends. Whereas humans are fucking weird. At least coyotes all look like coyotes. Wolves all kind of look like wolves. Like with humans, you get 7-foot tall people and 5-foot tall people and round people and thin people.
But we are actually all very similar genetically. Mm-hmm. There's a study done in the 70s looking at polymorphisms, and they found that between like what it used to be thought there were races, like Africans, Asians, and Europeans. That was it. They didn't consider Native Americans or Australians or anybody. But they did this study on polymorphisms, found that only about 6 to 7% of all of our genetic differences can be accounted for by those between group differences. And they did the same thing with Y chromosomes. They did the same thing with craniofacial anatomy and found that we're all very similar. So despite those differences in height, weight, skin color, hair color, eye color, we're very, very similar, which could, again, lead to problems related to genetic homogenization, limited gene pool in the future, needing to go back and sample gametes from the past. Another argument I hear people make related to what you're saying, like an argument for potential genetic manipulation of the human species over time, is that it all happened really fast. We see this acceleration in our rate of change, the rate of our technological development. Those things might indicate that there's some sort of seeding in the past with not just technology, but the genetics that allow us to expand our minds and develop these things.
Well, then there's the weird stories from ancient scripts, ancient texts, like the Book of Enoch. Like, what is that all about? Like, that's some weird stuff where it talks about the Watchers coming down from the sky and mating with humans and creating the Nephilim who destroy everything.
Yeah, I might get some shit for this, but I would be willing to bet that all major religions and the little ones have some sort of UFO alien component to the myth and legend that gave rise to them over time.
It makes sense.
It does. Actually, the third book I wrote, Revelation, flips the whole script on Revelation, and it interjects time travelers. It interjects this whole. For a while there was this question of like whether there was a fight over the timeline, whether the Greys were coming back because some cataclysm needed to happen, and we all went underground, and that's why we have big eyes and pale skin, because we had to evolve underground for a while. And then another group like trying to keep that from happening. So the book kind of explores that in a fictional capacity. And I wrote it because my friends weren't reading my science books because they're dense and scientific. And I was like, man, what if I wrote a book that's just like a crass, sex, drug-fueled exploration of like this time travel idea? And that's where that book came from. It still ties in all of these same concepts scientifically, but in the story, like the main character is a intertemporal sex researcher. She goes back in time and just fucks everybody to learn what sex is. That's the book I gave you when I got here. Actually, it's a weird one.
That's right here.
Yeah, it's a weird one, but it was super fun to write. And they're like, and then her, the professor in this book, he's like he's an intertemporal drug kingpin of sorts. But it's like it's exploring these same ideas in a different way, with fiction, it's satire, it's comedy. The word most commonly used is it's hilarious. It's a comedy book, because I wanted people that don't read the science books to still be introduced to this concept and the science behind it in a different way. And man, it was so much more fun to write than those science books.
What do you think of when people start theorizing about some sort of a breakaway civilization that lives under the ocean?
Yeah, so we actually published a paper about that last June, about the crypto-terrestrial hypothesis. You mentioned it on your show in a really funny way, because it went viral internationally. It was absolutely insane, the impact this thing had. I had to go on Fox and Friends one morning to talk about it, and then the next day I did.
What made it go viral? What was the?
Well, because I published it with two guys from Harvard. I was a co-author on the paper, and so it's clickbait. It's Harvard researchers say dinosaurs are aliens and they live among you. So stuff like that, and it worked because yeah.
Well, it makes you go, what?
Yours was the funniest one. You guys pulled it up on your screen, and you're like, man, these Harvard researchers must have snuck in where they're doing the psilocybin experiments and ate all the mushrooms. That cracked me up. And I don't think we did. I don't remember if we did. I don't think we did. But it definitely had elements of like these guys ate a lot of mushrooms, which was part of why it went viral. But there were some really solid arguments in there. And the title of the paper was Scientific Openness to the Crypto-Terrestrial Idea. That's all we were advocating for. And we listed 4 main ways in which this crypto-terrestrial idea could happen. And the 4th one is what really got clickbaity, because we were like, maybe there was a breakaway civilization, that's the crypto-terrestrial idea, but maybe an advanced reptile, dinosaurs didn't go extinct. And this was, we don't think this actually happened, but we're just putting out arguments for what this idea could be. And so, yeah, they took that and put like dinosaurs at keyboards and stuff like that. But one of them is time travelers. And it would make sense if you were in the future, instead of jumping back through time in order to study people in a specific time, you set up a base on the far side of the moon, where up until the 60s, 70s, we wouldn't know they were there. Set up a base under the oceans. And this would go for the extraterrestrial idea too. Instead of traversing the vast swaths of space, come here, set up under the oceans where we're not going to find you, Antarctica. far side of the moon. And then you can do everything here locally instead of having to jump across space, extraterrestrial, or jump across time, extratempestrial.
Well, it also explains some of the very strange ways that they've observed crafts moving under the water.
Mm-hmm.
Like they've observed crafts moving under the water at 500 knots that are
Yeah.
as big as a football field. And apparently there's video of these things. Apparently there's, the
I've
Navy
heard that
has
too. Yeah.
something that they filmed that is as big as a football field that was going essentially 500 miles an hour underwater without any ripples, not disturbing the water at all, not creating a wake.
And then moving right out of them, the
Yeah.
transmedium capacity.
Yeah. Well, when you think about how little exploration we've done to the bottom of the ocean, we know more about the moon than we do about the surface of the actual bottom of the ocean.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be a great place to hide out. And again, the ability to move in and out of air, water, space, upper atmosphere with no disturbances, the transmedium capabilities, that whole warped space-time bubble around them would help explain that too, that they're not experiencing the water. They're not
Right.
experiencing the air as they
Right.
move between them. Like, I always think about, I really love skiing. And one of my favorite times to ski is late season. It's April, the sun's out, everybody's in T-shirts or bikinis or whatever. I don't wear bikinis, but people do. And you get into that slushy stuff. You're cruising down the mountain, you hit the slush, and you just go ass over kettle, over the top of your skis. And that's what, we would expect if they're moving in and out of air and water and space, is that there would be some resistance. There's not. They don't have that. And it does indicate that there is some sort of manipulation of space and time around them. And yeah, moving underwater, these football field-sized craft going that fast. I mean, how can you do that if there is actual resistance from the water?
Well, it just makes you wonder, how much does the government know? You've seen that guy, Tim Burchett, talk about it.
He's hilarious.
Yeah, it was very funny. I mean, he was just casually mentioning that there's 5 different locations in the ocean of the world, in the seas of the world, where they've observed crafts coming out of. That's a very weird thing to just say while you're walking. Just casually talk about it.
And with such confidence, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're doing these skiffs. They're talking to people behind closed doors.
Uh-huh.
They don't have the same requirement to not disclose things as those people do.
Right.
They didn't sign NDAs. And he has a hilarious way of talking about it. He's got the best one-liners of anybody discussing this stuff. I mean, somebody knows. Somebody knows a lot of things. A lot of people probably know a lot of things and have for a very long time. But, what is that relationship? What do they control? Why are we not allowed to know?
Well, this is the real question. Like, what do they actually know about what's going on in the ocean? Like, if there are bases somewhere down in the ocean, there's that weird one, the Baltic Sea anomaly.
I don't know that.
You know what that one? Jesse Michaels just did a show about it where he interviewed the guy who found it. I think they're treasure divers, and they found this very strange thing that is sitting on the floor of the ocean, and it has right angles to it, and it's kind of curved. There's an actual, I don't know what kind of an image is of it, but they have explored this thing, and he's convinced that it's not a natural formation.
Yeah, interesting.
See if you can find something on the Baltic Sea. Put that into our sponsor,
So is there an
Perplexity.
indication it's like
That's
like
what
a base or
Look, it looks like
something?
a fucking Millennium Falcon. What's wrong with my mouth today? I can't say Millennium Falcon. Like, that's what it looks like.
That's interesting.
So, look, this could be something that's sitting on, or it could be something that was built at a time where this was not covered by
Right,
ocean.
yeah.
Like, you live in Montana. Montana used to be the great inland sea, right?
Yeah.
You could find seashells in Montana, which is really weird.
Yeah, and even all along the coast of Alaska, like there was about 110-foot rise in sea level over the last 12,000 years.
So what? Some more images of this thing. Like, what is that thing?
Yeah,
Like,
but
these
the
are all
question then-
artistic renditions. Some of them are. But the other one, that blue one that you see there, that's the real thing. That's
Okay.
what it actually looks like.
Yeah, it's pretty anomalous.
Right. Like, what is that, though? Is
Right.
that an ancient structure that people built, 20,000 years ago? Like, what is it? Baltic Sea anomaly is a sonar-detected seafloor formation in the northern Baltic Sea found in 2011 by Swedish Ocean X formerly ocean explorer, team during a treasure hunting expedition. Most geologists who have examined the available data consider it a natural rock formation shaped by glacial processes, despite ongoing popular speculation about UFOs or artificial origin.
It's tough, man.
There's that thing off the coast of Malibu, too. Is it Malibu or is it Catalina Island? What's that one thing where it was in Google Earth and then they blurred it out after a while?
I think that's just a Google Earth thing. Maybe. Maybe not, but...
But it was on Google Earth and then now it's blurred.
I read where they're getting the data from Google Earth, like what is that data, They're not just taking a picture.
So it was like bad data?
Yeah, I think so.
And then it cleared up?
I think so.
Okay.
Also, that's a good answer.
That's a good answer for the government.
I did a talk in Manhattan last year, and Tim Gallaudet was one of the speakers, and he was showing images of, I think, what you're talking about, where there was like this sort of almost like a cliff underwater, and then had some strange things around it, like it had been modified, or I don't remember exactly what he was saying, but I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That was just off of Catalina Island.
That's right. Yeah, it was very weird looking, and a lot of people were speculating. And one of the reasons why it's very weird, there's a lot of sightings off of Catalina Island. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of sightings out there.
Yeah, and it, again, it makes sense if they were trying to covertly study us, regardless of their origins, ultra-terrestrial, extraterrestrial, whatever. Use the oceans.
Perfect. Perfect base. It's very difficult
especially
for us to
if you can move in and out of there with impunity, not just because we won't see them, but they have the technology to make the water and the air the same thing.
Click on that image where the cursor's at.
Yeah, that was it.
That's it. That's it. Whatever that is. Like, that looks real weird.
It does look weird.
That looks real weird. Whatever the hell that is. That's so strange. That's so strange looking. But again, that's like, is that what it really looks like? What are the new images? Is the new one on the right? Okay, that's it right there.
The one I had up says it's from 2014.
Like, what the hell is that? It's got pillars. I mean, that's very strange. It has those sort of uniform shaped pillars.
Yeah, and the top looks
very flat.
Structural, like something you would make to withstand the weight of the water above you.
Like a garage door.
Yeah.
Like it's a garage door to a base.
Yep. No, I mean, again, when I started out in this, I was relatively conservative with my views on things. But man, the further you go down this rabbit hole, just the weirder shit gets, and you can't do that anymore. Mm-hmm. You've got to recognize that there's a lot of things that just you can't write off, The impossible become possible, or at least you have to open your mind to the fact that these things you used to think were impossible need a second look.
Right. And then there's also the people that work in military intelligence, that work with these defense contractors that say there's black operations, like operations that are completely top secret, that are 30 years ahead of anything that you can imagine right now. So you go, okay, well, what does that look like? What does 30 years ahead of us now look like?
Yeah, like that was SR-71, the Blackbird or whatever it is, black whatever. Yeah, like we didn't even know about that until 20 years after they had made it.
Right.
And it makes sense. You don't want your enemies to know. And that's an argument that's been made over and over, that we can't disclose things because then our enemies will have this technology.
Of course.
And I always thought growing up that, it'll take a war before they're like, oh, we need to use these things we've been developing. Like, we're getting our ass kicked in this war. It's time to bring out the UFOs and our space-age laser weapons and stuff. But I kind of think it's going to happen before that. It's weird to say, but I kind of get the sense that it is happening. There's been a lot of false horizons. People have been saying that for a long time, but doesn't it feel different? I mean,
it definitely does feel different. It definitely feels that the general public is a lot more open to the concept without being thought of as a fool.
Right.
It used to be, when I was a kid, if you'd bring up UFOs, people would just roll their eyes, especially before the internet. Oh, my God. If you brought up any of that stuff, they would laugh at you. I was reading some book on Roswell once, like I think it was in the 1990s. And, this guy's like, what the fuck are you wasting your time on this complete horseshit for? Mm-hmm. There's no such thing as UFOs. I'm like, how do you say that with such confidence?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
we live in a galaxy with hundreds of billions of stars, just in this galaxy, with hundreds of billions of stars in other galaxies, and there's hundreds of billions of other galaxies. Like, what are you saying? That's crazy to say that we are the only ones.
It is. They did a really good job at making us feel like idiots.
Yeah. Well, you can see how that can be done. You know, I mean, look what they did during the COVID crisis. You know, if you don't get a vaccine, make your end of life preparations now. You know, like you're going to be killing everybody. No one's going to survive. This disease targets the unvaccinated, and people believed all that.
Well, I think the two are related too, because we started to figure out that we've been lied to about UFOs, and the obvious question is, what else? What else were they lying to us about?
Yes. Well, I think once we realize how strong the propaganda machine is and how gullible people are.
Oh yeah, that's the big one.
Easily, I mean, if people were going to accept something as 100% truth without any investigation or any skepticism from the pharmaceutical drug industry. They are the most evil motherfuckers that have ever lived. They are responsible for more death from releasing drugs that have horrible adverse side effects that they knew about. They have taken the largest criminal fines of any companies. I mean, what they've done is really fucking creepy when you look at how they release drugs that they knew were going to fuck people over, and they knew those people didn't need those drugs. And yet, when you put people in a scary situation and you make them terrified and you offer up a solution, they believe wholeheartedly that the pharmaceutical drug companies were only telling the truth, and anybody who didn't believe
they have your best interest in mind.
So it's like that sheep mentality is so strong with so many people. There's so many cowards in the world and so many followers that would just step in line the moment things get weird, whenever they get challenged, the moment things get weird, that it just makes sense that if you make it like socially, you become a social pariah if you start talking about UFO. Oh, here's Mike with his fucking wacky UFO theories. Yeah. Like, people don't talk about those things. They don't want to bring them up.
And the military-industrial complex is kind of the equivalent of the pharmaceutical companies on the other side of this coin.
Sure.
We trust them. They defend us, whatever they are making, I'm sure they'll use for great purposes. But yeah, I mean, a big part of that was making us feel like idiots for talking about this stuff. And that is changing, though. And it's not largely because of, ancient aliens. I've been on the show 5 times. I had a little bit of cognitive dissonance the first time I went on.
That show they go way out there.
They get out there, man.
Yeah.
And they totally.
But it's just fun.
It is fun, and that's how I approached it. Well, I also approached it because I was trying to talk about this theory. They did this funny bait and switch for the first 3 episodes I was on, where they're like, hey, come down, talk about your theory. I'm like, oh, okay. So I go to LA or wherever, and we do the shoot. They cut out everything about my books and this theory and just used me to talk about whatever the show was actually about.
Little small snippets.
Yeah. I caught on to that. And so the 4th time I went, I was like, all right, but I'm only doing it if you guys actually, but one of the episodes was about this whole theory anyway. So it made sense. But I forget what we were talking about. Oh, the stigma. So one of the cool things that's been happening, largely because of Ancient Aliens, your show, you talk about this a lot, and it helps normalize it for a lot of people, is that there's a safe space now, like where you'll be talking about these things and somebody will come up who had a sighting when they were, a teenager in their 40s or whatever, and they never told anybody. Mm-hmm. And now it's like, wait, it's safe to talk about this? And that's so cool to see, man. And then it makes me realize just how many people have had an experience that's been bottled up inside. It's liberating to let that come out, and we're sharing information. And contactees, too. Unfortunately, I started saying earlier, we're still kind of stuck on, this is changing too, but we're still largely stuck on the cockpit videos and the FLIR and the gimbal and the go fast. But people have been taken into these craft. They've had stuff put on their junk and their semen taken,
junk.
There's a lot of no square touching that happens, anal probes, and we used to laugh at that, but that is such a common theme throughout these, and we need to recognize that these people are having real experiences and have been having them for a very long time. Let's move on. Let's talk to these people. Let's let the contactees and experiencers who have had the closest form of a close encounter you can have, let's trust them now. Let's listen to what they have to say. Let's be discerning, but let's keep an open mind.
Well, I think one of the more interesting things when you start talking about stories and encounters, one of the more interesting things is some of the research that Jacques Vallée has done, where he brings up stories that absolutely predate the modern cultural visions of UFOs. Yeah. Like the modern cultural concept of the close encounter of the third kind type grays that come down in a flying saucer All those things, like flying saucer, didn't even come out until the Kenneth Arnold experiences.
Yeah.
So it's these encounters people are talking about from the 1700s and the 1800s, and they're talking about something coming down and something interacting with people, and them having some sort of experience of lost time. The thread is very common. The Betty and Barney Hill story.
Yep. Yeah, it's not just the gamete extractions. I mean, you could make the argument that a lot of things that happened in very mainstream religious texts were exactly what people are describing. Even the CIA admitted that unexplainable pregnancies are an aspect of the phenomenon. Where'd Jesus come from? Kind of an unexplainable pregnancy. I think Jesus was a time traveler, personally.
A time traveler?
Yeah, that's another aspect of that book.
That's in your satire?
It's in my satire book, yeah. I think...
Oh, you literally have Jesus coming out of a UFO.
I got some shit for that. With the
I bet
double
you
bird.
did.
He's throwing up the double bird,
Oh,
which
that's
it turns out
hilarious.
Christians don't like that.
Well...
I don't know, can't please everybody, right?
No, you can't.
But there are many aspects of Jesus' life, big fan of Jesus, by the way, that are very paranormal. A lot of these seemingly miraculous things, I think, can be explained with a lot of the same technologies that we see today. We just didn't have a way of conceptualizing them. Obviously, Ezekiel is the one that gets talked about a lot, the wheel within a wheel, the telepathy, the embers, burning embers.
Yeah.
And then you look at the Nephilim, and all kinds of different. So Mbaba Wanawaresa, this story from Zulu lore, it's a fucking alien abduction, man. And they've been telling this story for
How's the story
thousands
go?
of years. So it's this woman, the sky goddess, who chooses a man to mate with and comes down, tests him to make sure that he knows that it's her. It appears in his dreams, communicates telepathically, gets him ready for this interaction. He's in love with her, never met her before. She comes down from the sky and takes him up with her on this rainbow of light.
Whoa.
And I made the case in my second book that if Antonio Villas-Boas had been able to go back with the woman that he had sex with, it's basically the same story. So this Brazilian lawyer is telling a story that's identical to this Zulu legend that's been told for centuries, millennia. I don't know how far it goes back.
How weird.
But we need to look outside of just the mainstream view, which is finally happening. So I'm excited about that. I'm very grateful. I have a lot of gratitude about what's happening.
Well, the question
we can
is,
go farther.
Why did the mainstream view become what it is? And we know that is because of a concerted, concentrated propaganda effort.
Yeah. And a very effective one.
I mean,
They nailed it.
Well, there was no other media back then. They had complete control
That's a
of
good
newspapers, complete control of television stations.
Yeah.
I mean, how much do we know now about various news anchors that were actually CIA agents? There's a fucking shit ton of them.
Yeah. And
People
even
that
if they
infiltrate-
weren't, they were being force-fed this stuff that they were happy to regurgitate.
Absolutely. Yeah. They just wanted to look good and have a suit and speak like
have
an
a
expert.
job.
Here
Yeah.
we go.
And if you
Yeah.
don't toe the line, somebody else will.
Yeah. And you're living a great life. You drive a Mercedes. You live in
Yeah.
a nice house.
Yeah.
Why would you fuck this up? Over a UFO story? Just tell your friends.
Just tell
Keep it to
everybody
yourself.
what you're supposed to tell them.
Yeah, it's easy to get people to comply like that, especially when they're dependent upon, whether it's a corporate entity like CNN or whether it's the New York Times or whatever it is. It's not hard to get people to comply.
No, and you're right. Since the internet, things have changed.
Radically. Really radically.
Radically. But I think there's a downside, too. We've already kind of been moving toward a post-truth existence. Good Lord, man. I'll scroll through videos on Twitter now. 90% of them are fake.
Oh, there's so much AI now.
It's so ridiculous.
It's
and
so
then
crazy.
I make the unfortunate decision to go into the comments to see what percentage of people think it's real.
80.
90?
90?
I would say at least 90. It's insane. Still have it on my phone. It's this stupid fucking video of a rabbit nursing its little rabbit babies, and one of them's a cat. So the mom cat comes in, picks the fucking baby cat up by the nose, they're magnetically attached. It doesn't even grab it. The baby kind of comes with it, and then walks out the back of the burrow. There's no back to a rabbit burrow, and everybody's like, oh, whoops, that cat made a mistake. It's drinking from the wrong species. people don't see it. They don't see that this is very obviously fake. And it's not just for that. Like, they're using it for propaganda. They're using it for the same type of thing that they've used forever. Oh, well, this UFO phenomenon's not real because AI made this video.
Well, there's also the problem with what percentage of people that are even commenting are actual people.
Exactly.
There's a huge amount of bots that are communicating on all the social media platforms. A giant percentage of the comments are not real people.
That's a really good point. Yeah. No, you're right.
So they would comment on anything and just say, wow,
but that
that's
also
amazing.
still feeds the perception that it's real.
Yes.
Because other people that maybe don't have great critical thinking skills or discernment because, their 90-year-old grandma that doesn't know how to use a computer, she sees that, oh, it's cute.
I think it erodes the consensus intelligence.
Yeah.
Like the overall level of intelligent discourse that a society puts out. If you have a town square, which is like Twitter is our town square, right? Mm-hmm. If that town square is populated by fake people, like enormous percentage populated by fake people that are just designed to say the most inflammatory, ridiculous things to get interaction and engagement, and also to erode people's faith in other people and to make us argue with each other.
Construct the other, like you were saying at the beginning of this conversation. It fuels tribalism.
Yeah.
It's really problematic.
My hope is that eventually there'll be some way to accurately discern, and it'll stop that stuff from happening. That you'll be able to tell, like, very clearly whether or not it's an actual person. The problem is that if that does happen, it's a gateway to digital ID because you would have to lose your anonymity. Because if you're anonymity is very important for whistleblowers. Like, say if you work for a corporation, you find out that corporation is dumping stuff into a river and it's all secret and it's illegal, and that if you tell, they're going to kill you, and you're an executive at that corporation, your conscience is troubled. You can make a fake account. You could sign up through a VPN. You can make a fake account and you could post all this information that and you could break a story. And you don't face any consequences. You don't get killed. Yeah. If you have digital ID, if we know who everybody is that's posting something, and you make that same post, who knows what they do to you? Who knows what happens?
Yeah, and it's been happening. There's been whistleblowers who have had mysterious deaths
all over
for
the
a
place.
long time.
All
too.
over the place.
Yeah, it's.
Didn't Gary Webb? Didn't he shoot himself in the head twice? Was that the story?
What's the one Tim Burchett always says? Get shot or you shoot yourself in the back of the head 4 times or something.
Yeah,
like
I mean, I think
it's
in reference to that. How did Gary Webb die?
Yeah, I'm making sure it's true though.
Yeah, but even if that's not true, there's a bunch of stories about whistleblowers who go missing.
Yeah, there's so many examples.
If you're inconvenient, you're going to cost them billions of dollars, and they can just get rid of you. They just get rid of you, whoever they are.
Yeah, it all comes down to money, and it has for a very long time.
Someone was deciding if this was accurate. They found in a case where someone shot themselves in the head 8 times.
Oh, that's a lot.
So there's a couple cases where it's happened.
Boy, that's a commitment.
I mean, I guess if it was like an airsoft gun or something.
I don't think that kills you.
That'd be a really inefficient way to kill yourself.
Yeah. The whole thing's crazy.
Do you think it's even possible to kill
with an
yourself
airsoft
with
gun?
An airsoft gun?
Maybe.
If you shot like a lobotomy kind of, if you shot yourself up the nose 8 times?
It's not that fast.
No, it's not, is it?
I mean, it might
the brand new
eventually
CO2
give you an
cartridge.
infection.
Oh, so you could.
I guess. If you got enough airsoft bullets in you.
Just fills up your entire nasal
and you
cavity.
never went to the doctor, maybe eventually you'd get an infection.
I think somebody might intervene at that point.
When I was living in LA, when I first moved there, a guy had killed himself accidentally on a set because he took a gun that was a blank gun and he shot himself in the head, like trying to be funny, and it killed him because the force that comes out of the gun is still extremely powerful.
Oh, yeah.
And he put it to his temple and he literally caved his skull in.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah, that was just an actor who just didn't know any better, and he thought he was just going to be funny. Yeah, so shooting yourself in the head twice, highly unlikely.
8 times.
But I guess you could shoot yourself in the head once and just really fuck it up, but be aware that you're still alive and be committed to doing it and then shoot yourself a second time. I guess it's possible.
I mean, unless the pain response was like, yeah, it didn't feel good.
Right.
I don't want to do that again.
Or maybe the pain response is so bad you want to do it again just to end
that's
the pain.
a good point. Yeah. Like, whoops, let's get this over with.
I don't know. But our point, what we're getting at, is that for the longest time, there was no real outlet to get true information out other than books. And books are so easily maligned. You know, if someone has a kooky book, you read it and go, oh, that guy's nuts. That is a conspiracy theory. And then, of course, that term's popularized during the JFK assassination because of that very reason. There was a lot of people that doubted the official story, and those people became conspiracy theorists.
Have you looked into that much?
Oh, yeah.
I kind of thought you had. Who do you think did it?
I think there was a lot of people. I think here's a mistake that people make. They say Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone or Lee Harvey Oswald wasn't involved and he was a patsy. Lee Harvey Oswald shot a cop. There's like very few people that disagree on that. I think it's Officer Tippett. I think that was his name when he was on the run. So Lee Harvey Oswald absolutely seems to be some sort of an intelligence asset in some way or another. Married a Russian woman, lived in Russia for a while, came back to the United States during the time of the whole, I mean, this is right after the Red Scare. The fact that this guy went to Russia, married a Russian woman, came back, and like the whole thing's screwy.
He could have been a patsy and involved too,
yes,
though, right?
Absolutely.
I heard some theory once about like the driver turned around with some
that's all horseshit.
gun, or was there something about like a poisonous fish
horseshit.
thing? That's all horseshit?
All horseshit.
That's why I was asking, because I don't know.
Well, there's a lot of those. One of the best ways to make a conspiracy theory seem absolutely ridiculous is to add a bunch of really silly ones into the mix. And so that any conspiracy theory involving something that's not the official narrative. But there's just so many aspects of the Kennedy assassination, the back and to the left, the headshot, the shot in the neck from the front, the magic bullet, which is preposterous, is the most preposterous. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of these weird aspects to it. And it's also the fact that Kenny was very hated. Also the fact that, it's in Dealey Plaza, which is like, why would you ever drive someone through there in a convertible that's the president? Right. That's a very, any president is, we think of JFK was the most loved president, right, by half the country. That's how it always is, folks. Right. There's always half the country that thinks you suck and half the country that loves you. That's how it was with Clinton. That's how it was with Obama. So it is with everybody.
Yeah. No, we don't tend to agree on those things as an entire human population.
There was a lot of people that were very happy when he died, including Dulles. So Dulles was fired by JFK and then was on the Warren Commission investigating JFK's assassination, which is hilarious. Yeah. It's kind of crazy. Richard Nixon, also in the Warren Commission. The Warren Commission, there's a great book on it called Best Evidence by David Lifton. And he was an accountant that was hired to do something with the Warren Commission, some aspect of the Warren Commission. So he decides to read the whole thing. It's a huge amount of pages. I forget how many pages are in the Warren Commission report. I think it's at least 900 pages. So he reads the whole thing. And after it, he comes to this conclusion, like there's so many inconsistencies, there's so many contradictions. This doesn't make any sense. Like they were trying to reach a conclusion. Yeah. So many of the witnesses that saw the assassination died in very weird deaths. Right. The statistical possibility or probability of all those people dying from murder, suicide, car accidents, it's just too weird. It's too weird.
What about the UFO connection? Like that's the one I hear.
I don't know.
Because there are like CIA ties and I don't know. I don't know what's bullshit and what's not, Yeah. There was clearly, like, we had the technology for 20 years at that point. But what does a president even know?
I don't know what they know. I don't know whether or not they would kill him for that. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. You know the Nixon story with Jackie Gleason?
No, I don't think so.
You don't know that story? The story is that Jackie Gleason and Nixon were drinking one day. And, they were friends. And Nixon was like, I want to see a fucking UFO. they get in a plane, and he took them to, was it Wright-Patterson? Jamie, do you remember?
I think it was somewhere in Florida. But I remember when we looked this up, they said he went somewhere. I'll look it up right now.
So anyway, supposedly sees this recovered craft and bodies that are in freezers. So Jackie Gleason, one thing's true about this. He became obsessed with UFOs. That is true.
Yeah.
And
it'd be hard not to after something like that.
yeah.
There's definitely a catalyst.
I'm mad. I mean, fucking dude, right now, someone took me. If Trump called me up, want to see some shit?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I'm standing in front of some craft that's made of this unknown alloy. And especially some of the weirder stories where you have a craft that's like 40 feet wide. And you go inside of it, it's bigger than a football field.
That's wild.
So here it is. Nixon arranged for him to visit Homestead Air Force Base in Florida. Upon his arrival, armed guards took Gleason to a building at a remote location on the site. There, Gleason, who harbored an intense interest in UFOs, saw the embalmed bodies of 4 alien beings, 2 feet long with small bald heads and big ears. He was told nothing about the circumstances of their recovery. He swore his wife to secrecy, but after the divorce, Beverly freely discussed the story. In the mid-'80s, ufologist Larry Bryant sued the U.S. government to get it to reveal its UFO secrets. He tried without success to subpoena Gleason. Wow, he wanted to subpoena Gleason. Yo, that's crazy.
I mean, he could just plead the fifth the whole time.
Oh,
too.
yeah. I was drunk. I don't remember anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, how would you know? But Gleason built a house in upstate New York.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
That looks like a UFO.
Right. Isn't
Have
it
you
for
ever seen
sale
it?
right now?
It is right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. We thought about buying it.
I
but-
did. I looked that up one time. I don't remember why, but it's kind of cool. I
Yeah, it's
guess.
kind of cool, but the problem is if we bought it, everybody would know that that's ours.
Yeah, true.
Like, oh, Joe Rogan's got the UFO house, and then they'd visit and
Yeah.
fuck up my vacation.
That's true. That's always bound to happen. I remember
That's the house.
Barry Gold.
Look
oh,
at the
yeah.
house. I
Yeah.
mean, come on, man.
That's pretty sweet.
Fucking crazy.
Something happened. He was. There was a catalyst involved in his interest.
Well, I mean, if you're friends with Nixon, and this is in the 1960s, and all this stuff is.
Yeah,
You
I saw
know.
an interview with Barry Goldwater where he was
That's a
talking
fucking
about
dope house, by the
yeah.
way.
talking
God.
about asking some commander or general about what's it right, Pat, and I guess he just cussed him out. Barry Goldwater. He was like,
Really?
"Don't ever fucking ask me that again." Yeah,
Really?
Yeah.
He cussed out Barry Goldwater?
he was I don't think he was ever candidate for
Right.
president, but. Yeah, no, there's people that don't want us to know. The big thing going around now is that Dick Cheney was the ringleader of all of this, the deep state, the UFO secrets, the gatekeepers.
Well, he had to know.
Oh, of course.
That guy had to know.
Kissinger too, probably. Like the legacy programs. These are legacy people.
Well, someone has got to talk, right? But it's like, but to what level? And the idea, here's the really erroneous idea that a lot of people hold. People can't keep a secret. Of course they can. Of course they can.
Especially when their life's being
Yeah,
threatened.
of course they can. Especially if, I mean, there are certain programs that if you disclose the existence of this program, it is considered treason, and they are allowed to execute you for that.
Yeah.
So you have to take that into consideration.
I would keep a secret if that
Yeah.
was the case.
Of course. Then you have to take into consideration the immense amount of money, and this is discussed really very comprehensively in the Age of Disclosure documentary. I think they did a great job of highlighting the whole problem with the misappropriation of funds. So someone had to lie to Congress. If they have these back engineering programs, if they've been spending as much as $1 trillion over the course of X amount of years,
Yeah, where's that
that
coming
money and who lied and
Yeah.
who benefited from it? What military contractors were allowed to have this stuff to back engineer it? What process has taken place to shield the American public from that? And what profits have they made from that made them like much more like anti-competition against
Right.
other military contractors?
Which is
who didn't
another
have
reason to
access
keep a
it.
secret, too. It's not just you might get killed, but there's a lot of profit potential in this, and we don't want our competitors to have
Also,
that.
a lot of fraud, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Like with no oversight at all and a shitload of
Black
money.
money.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's
There's not a chance in hell that there wasn't
no,
some
human
money that
nature
went into
takes
people's
over.
pockets.
Yeah, human nature
100%.
takes over, and people are like, well, I could just keep some of that.
Yeah.
Nobody's watching the till.
Yeah. I mean, look, we're finding that with things just like Black Lives Matter. It was massive fraud. Like just
All the
nonprofit organizations. Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Like I don't want to start shitting on NGOs or anything, but that's a big reason why I don't give money to. I'll find smaller organizations doing thing on a local level, but
Yeah,
you get
local
big
level
enough-
stuff you can trust.
Yeah, absolutely. You get big enough, it's just that happens.
Yeah.
And of course, if you're talking trillions of dollars, black money that nobody's tracing. And I mean, that was one of David Grush's arguments too, is that these whistleblowers are exposing crimes, fraud, potential murder that happened to keep these secrets. So, yeah, it's a very nuanced situation that we will have to move past if we are going to have disclosure in some capacity, however that happens. I mean, amnesty's been talked about for some people.
That was in the documentary. That was the road out of this, which totally makes sense to me. Like, what is really important? The fraud has already taken place. If people are prosecuted for the fraud, guess what? If we don't release it, they'll never be prosecuted for the fraud anyway.
Yeah, and what's the alternative? We wait until they die and then talk about it? I would rather just give them amnesty now and then let them die without these secrets going to their deathbed with them.
But just not only that, if they're misappropriating funds, they're not just doing it 30 years ago. They're doing it last week. So now the current people also have
that's a good point.
an incentive to not disclose.
Yeah.
Unless you have mass amnesty, just say, listen, let's just forget about all this stuff. Then the problem with that is all those people that are profiting off of it right now and also funneling money into whatever NGOs they have and misappropriation of money and embezzlement.
What do we do with that IP too? Like the intellectual property that, say, Northrop Grumman or whoever has, Boeing, like, do we share that now? Do they have to give that up and spread it across the industry?
Yeah. It's all weird, man. It's very weird because there's been a few inventions that came about after Roswell that a lot of people say, like, this does not make any sense.
Yeah, fiber optics is one.
The transistor is another one.
Yeah.
There's a lot of weirdness. People say, oh, there's a direct
and
scientific research that shows how they made it. Yeah, but there's not. If you go into it, it's like there's a giant leap that gets made that's real weird.
I mean, I'll take more leaps, man. Like honestly, these craft are being powered by something that's very, very energized,
Yeah.
And if we could use that to, I mean, I pay a lot in utilities bills. I was going to talk about like climate change or some shit, and then I made it about myself and my utilities.
You could have your own 0-point energy generator in your backyard. Never have to worry about power again. Never have to worry about the grid.
90. Have as many Christmas lights as I want.
Yeah, never worry about the grid. The grid doesn't exist anymore.
Doesn't exist. I mean, imagine that from an infrastructure level, and there's so many implications. If it's real. If it's real.
If you think it's real.
Right.
You're convinced. Huh?
I'm convinced it is, yeah. I mean, it makes sense. There's so much energy trapped within the space between, Like that's what it is. Even at 0 degrees,
try to explain,
still energized.
if you can, try to explain the concept of 0-point energy.
Man, that's beyond my pay grade. Other than that, I know that it is infinitely times more energetic than what you get when you split an atom or fuse atoms together, the nuclear force. My understanding, again, very limited knowledge, is that even when you take a molecule, particle, whatever, and you freeze it down to 0 degrees, there's still energy inside of that. And there's energy at a subquantum level that if we could tap into that, it would provide infinite energy. The downside is it would also make a bomb that is much, much more powerful than the biggest hydrogen bomb because you're releasing that energy in a way that's irresponsible. There's this quote going around by E.O. Wilson, famed biologist, I think I saw it on Twitter, that was like, we have prehistoric emotions, medieval institutions, and godlike technology. Basically saying we're fucked.
Yeah.
Because we've got, we're like little kids playing with chainsaws, you know?
Yeah.
But 0
or
point.
guns, little kids playing with guns.
Yeah, exactly. But 0 point's kind of that next thing. Like when Einstein, E equals mc squared, there's all this energy and mass, and if we, split these atoms, combine these atoms, we can release that energy. Sweet. But hundreds of thousands of people died in Japan,
Right.
So what's the flip side of 0 point? Like, it would definitely unlock a lot of potential, but are we responsible enough as a species to handle that type of energy?
Right. Currently, no.
E.O. Wilson says no, and I'm on board with anything he says.
I'm on board with it. Just look at what's happening in Ukraine. Look at what's happening in Gaza. Look what's happening. There's
Gaza is
full-scale
so
war.
fucking sad.
Scary shit. It's happening right now in various parts of the world where, we're just blowing people to smithereens.
And you know what? That's kind of an interesting argument about the the whole time travel thing. You know, there's these genocides. There's genocide happening now in Gaza. It blows my mind that we can still have genocides and just not do anything about it. But like Pol Pot, 3-4 million people killed, the Holocaust, Darfur. But these aliens don't seem to care about us. It was something that John Mack noticed. He wrote about it a lot. They're really focused on the Earth. They care about this planet. They don't necessarily care about us.
As individuals.
As a species. Well, clearly they care as a species. But they do kind of care as individuals. The people that get picked up are oftentimes, obviously there's cases where this doesn't happen, but they're cared for. They're told no harm will come to you. Barney Hill was told that. It's a commonly repeated thing. So they take care of people. They give us screen memories to try to hide what they did. They sometimes give people tours of the ship. They seemingly care about us as individuals, but not when we start murdering each other on a massive scale. They've never intervened in these things.
Right.
However, they have demonstrated their ability and willingness to shut down nukes. They might intervene if we move to the point where we're not just destroying ourselves, but we're destroying the planet that they may also call home in the future. If they are future humans, that whole care for the planet, take care of the planet, they told the kids in Zimbabwe, they told the kids in Wales during this other incident. They tell these contactees all the time, take care of the planet, but they don't seem to care about us. And it might actually benefit them if we don't screw up this planet, either through nuking ourselves or just all of the other things we do to it, because we're kind of parasitic in a way.
Well, also, if they are us in the future, we probably have to go through all this to realize the folly of our ways.
That's a good point. Dark night of the soul, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, clearly, we're getting better. I mean, we're still horrible, but we're better today than we were during the Viking days. We're better today than we were during the time of Genghis Khan.
Yeah.
We're better. We're more civilized. We're more peaceful. There's less war, even though there's still war. So it's a slow, gradual shift of consciousness that probably is going to be accelerated by technology, especially if there is some sort of a technology that connects us telepathically and allows people to read minds. And one of the things that Elon famously said about his Neuralink, he's like, you're going to be able to talk without words.
Yeah, I had a whole section in my first book about that. The question of whether it's a technology-mediated brain-to-brain communication or if there's something about our consciousness that allows us to communicate telepathically without some sort of technology. And I did that. My friend Jeff Krapel pointed this out. He's like, I see why you did that. You're like, well, what if it is technology? And there's a lot of studies that have shown we can communicate through some sort of computer medium. But so many people in contactee cases who are spoken to or can speak to the visitors telepathically don't have that. There's also all of the research of Dean Radin at IONS and all of his other studies that he's put out that show people have telepathic abilities with very, very strong p-values, statistically showing that we have this ability. I think a lot of people have it and just don't realize, but it does seem like we're moving in that direction. Like you were talking about the evolution of consciousness. It seems like we're sort of moving to that, whether Neuralink has anything to do with it or any sort of computer-mediated brain-to-brain transmission. I think we're just becoming telepathic and unlocking these abilities that have always sort of lied dormant within us.
Yeah, I've often asked the question, is it one of two things? Is this a new emerging aspect of human consciousness, or is this an aspect of human consciousness that exists before verbal speech? And then verbal speech, and then, of course, the written word, video, all that stuff.
Yeah.
It just became completely non-useful to us.
It's like we lost it, and we're trying to get it back.
It atrophied.
Yeah. I mean, you had Kai Dickens on. The telepathy tapes were hugely impactful.
Yeah.
And a lot of those episodes show that this is actually extremely common, And it seems like that's kind of where we're going. I look at that as another indication that these are us in the future, that their main form of communication is telepathy, and we're already seemingly moving in that direction.
What do you make of the tridactyl mummies in Peru?
Can we pee first?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll do that right now.
Sweet.
We'll be right back, folks. Go to Jay Anderson's X page. It's Project Unity.
Yeah, I saw he's coming on soon.
Yeah, so Jay Anderson just released this, and Jesse Michaels actually went down to Peru and actually saw those things and handled them in person. And he said it was fucking surreal. He said they are real creatures. Whatever they were, it is a real thing. And they look exactly like an alien. He has a video that he just released, Jamie. I think it's a video that he's releasing that's it right there. Scans reveal this ancient alien-looking mummy has a baby inside of her. That's one of them. So these things, like whatever this is, can we get volume so you can hear what he's saying?
She has slightly smaller stature and slighter build than Maria, but shares the same natural mummification with skin covering parts of the body. Her skull is elongated with large eye orbits and cranial volume comparable to Maria's. Importantly, Montserrat CT scans reveal that she was carrying in her abdominal cavity. The team identified a developing fetal form being visible on the scans, a tiny tridactyl embryo with skeletal structure, curled in a womb-like space. This confirms that Montserrat was pregnant with at least one advanced fetus. Montserrat also contains an astonishing array of metallic implants, at least 10 distinct metal implants embedded into her body. These include 4 small round implants in her skull, 2 on each side, several in her chest and thoracic area, and others along her arm and leg bones as per the CT images. They're described as very dense and made of rare metals, osmium and gold. Additionally, Montserrat's chest anatomy is peculiar. She has an expanded rib cage without a sternum, like the other tridactyls, and an interclavicle bone, an extra bone at the shoulder girdle. Noted by researchers, her spine is continuous into the skull, again demonstrating this craniocervical canal.
Look how crazy that is.
Montserrat has been one of the most deeply analyzed specimens. High-resolution 128-slice CT scans were performed, and a full 3D virtual autopsy was conducted. The scans confirmed Montserrat's pregnancy with tridactyl features.
I mean, how strange is this? Like, what is that? And these are in Peru, the same place where you get the Nazca lines, the same place where you have Sacsayhuaman. You have these incredible structures that defy logic, defy conventional construction methods, and especially
and like the owl man, the big petroglyph on the side of the hill that can really only be appreciated from space.
There's a lot of weirdness. There's a lot of weirdness from Peru. Peru seems like a very extraordinary place, and at one point in time, also the ancient artistic depictions of these exact beings. There's these ancient tapestries and ancient art pieces that show these 3-fingered, 3-toed beings. And this is all like a part of their folklore. And then you have these actual creatures. Like, that thing is 1,400 years old, I think it is. So if that's the carbon date on that mummy. So I think it's that old. There's one that's 1,200, and I think the oldest one is like 1,400.
That sounds right, yeah.
Something like that. But, like, whatever that is, like, there's not a chance in fucking hell that people back then had the ability to fake that. And that, with that depth, you see tendon structures, ligaments, you have a completely different skeletal structure, no sternum, different clavicle bones. Yeah. It's fucking
cranial
weird.
Facial anatomy.
3 fingers, 3 toes, which is, by the way, exactly what Lazar described, I believe, or some people have described as, like, the control. It might not be Lazar. The controls inside the crafts that they've observed that had these 3-fingered things. Varginha, Brazil, those things had 3 fingers and 3 toes. So the question is, like,
and they saw footprints too in that case, didn't they?
Yeah, well, they supposedly one of the soldiers carried a hurt and injured, whatever it is.
Yeah, there were 3 women that saw it too, like in an alley or something.
Yeah, that's the Moment of Contact documentary. Very good James Fox documentary.
It is. I watched that with James Fox.
Crazy.
Before we released it, we were at the same conference, and they
crazy
showed
documentary.
Yeah, it's really good.
But those things look exactly like that.
Yeah, way they described. It'd be cool if they still had eyeballs, because they said they had red eyes in that doco, which would be kind of crazy.
Whatever these things are, they are the same size and in the same shape, and they're also that thing, that tridactyl thing. What does it look like? It looks exactly like a gray. It's small. It has a big head. It has big eyes. It's very thin body. Like when you look at its body when it's curled up in the fetal position, it's no muscle. It's very small.
Yeah, there's definitely, there's variation within the way these things are described. Unfortunately, until we have, dude got to go with Nixon to see these things in liquid. That's like a wet dream of mine, man. I would love to go see these things and study them. As a biological anthropologist, that would be the holy grail for me. To actually get
there's somewhere that you could go right now on Earth if you knew the right guy. He'd let you see that.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's crazy.
I'm sure there's many, many examples of these things. I would argue in multiple places that I'm not allowed to go see, and it makes me mad.
Oh. But what is your take when you see these things?
Right. So I've always been outwardly critical of them, except I guess the question is which ones and what do we mean by real? These are obviously real. These are things that aren't a fairy tale. They make their way into the lore, so we do have to take that in the same way that these, ancient stories about things that are very similar to the UFO phenomenon.
But this is an actual physical mummy.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. This isn't make-believe. This is a real thing. I've been highly critical of the little ones.
Oh, yeah. There's some
dolls.
fake ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when I first started talking about these, those were conventionally understood to be real, too.
Oh, really?
I got a lot of shit for that. I actually retired from the mummy thing. I'm happy to come out of retirement for you, Joe Rogan. But I retired from the mummy thing because I was getting trolled so hard, so aggressively. I'm like, I'm out. I don't give a shit.
By people that thought they were real.
Yeah.
But they look fake. The difference between those...
See, we all say that now. We weren't saying that even 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh, I definitely was.
Well, yeah. You look at them, it's very obvious. But a lot of people are like, no, these are so real.
Oh, those are the people that still believe in Bigfoot.
And that's why I have to sort of approach this cautiously, because I will admit, scientists don't do this enough. I will admit I haven't looked into those, so I don't want to form an opinion about them until I have. I have extensively looked into the small ones. I forget what they're called. They have cute little names, and they're little dolls. They're made out of animal bones, human bones, backward llama skulls. They're put together. I've been looking at these long enough that I remember when they were held together by pieces of wire and metal. They didn't even try to really hide that. You x-ray them, like, oh, Jesus Christ, But then we moved away from that to they're using better materials to hide the fact that they're sticking these together as little dolls. And now, fortunately, we've at least moved past to the point where most people are just focusing on these big ones with the fingers and the toes. And the elongated skulls, again, I don't want to speak to those because I haven't looked into it enough. I don't have an informed opinion. But the little dolls, one thing that concerns me that I think is a red flag is that the little dolls that are now conventionally understood to be fake have the same diatomaceous earth characteristics as these. And there's also, I think if they really want to prove these are real, do more to highlight the provenience of them. In archaeology, the way that we understand the way things are related is by doing a massive, as I mentioned earlier, very boring survey of how things are located in three-dimensional space and over time.
I think there's a problem with that is that some of these people have lied about where they got them because they're essentially grave robbing.
They're grave robbing, exactly. Yeah. And that's a big problem and an ethical issue that needs to be addressed too. Yeah. But so as an example, the Rising Star Cave, Homo naledi, they did, Lee Berger, who's actually, I guess, my academic brother, because we had the same PhD advisor. He was at Ohio State when he was my advisor, and he was at Johannesburg, University of Witwatersrand in Johannesburg for him. But this Rising Star Cave, very meticulously, hard to get to. Really hard. He had to lose 50 pounds to even get down in here to see his own site. But they map it out. They study where everything is, where it comes from, and they publicly release that information. Yeah, This is extremely hard to get into. Crazy. But we have a very deep knowledge of the provenience of all of the artifacts and the features and the remains at this site. We're not getting that with these mummies. Right. And that troubles me. With the issue of the diatomaceous earth being painted on, and it kind of makes it seem like they did these slits in the eyes on purpose.
To the mummies?
Yeah. Doesn't it seem like they kind of went like this with a pen or something?
Let me see it again. Can I see some images of them?
Pterodactyls?
Yeah.
Yeah, the bigger
I never
ones,
saw that. It didn't seem like that to me. It seemed like
There's a little slit right
that's
there.
their eyelids closed.
Yeah, but they wouldn't have eyelids, would they?
Well, how do we know that?
I mean, you take off the diatomaceous earth and you see, I guess.
Right, but why would we think they don't have eyelids?
Oh, no, I'm saying that maybe they do when they were alive.
Well, I mean, we see grays, or what people describe as grays, but these seems a little bit different than what people describe as grays. It seems like,
There's definitely intentional cranial modification. They have
think
all
so?
the telltale signs of, yeah. So I actually, one of my questions on my
it's not
generals
possible
exams,
that they have a totally different designed skull.
Oh, yeah, if they are some sort of extraterrestrial, absolutely.
Right.
But I'm saying, like, and this happens all over the world, and it happened in that region of Peru, too, that they were manipulating children's skulls. The Maya did it. They did
Unique
all over
fingerprints.
Africa.
Look at that.
Yeah, like I said, I don't have an opinion about these.
But here's the question
There's
about
just some red flags for me,
the
so.
modification of skulls. Were they modifying skulls to try to emulate these people? Or
Exactly,
these
yeah.
things? That's the question. And
That's
these
one
things-
of the actual scientific explanations for it. There's this paper by Geertsen and Geertsen from 1995 where they interviewed people, said, why are you doing this? Because they were still doing it long enough into modern times that we could ask them, we could interview them. And one of the reasons is because the gods instructed them to do this. Who are the gods? Again, this comes back to that. And what is the end result of this intentional cranial modification is that they have the larger, more gray alien type skull. So,
Right.
yeah, I would absolutely agree that that's probably a part of it. I don't have an opinion about the big ones. The little ones pissed me off, and then everybody pissed me off more when I told them they were bullshit.
We should show people
For
images
context.
of the little
For
ones
context.
because they do look so fake.
Yeah, and they
Here.
brought these out at that, Mexican Congress.
And the guy who brought it out had been hoaxing with other things, right? Didn't he have a history?
Jaime
Like, look at the
Maussan.
fucking. She's got a little dress on.
And these are an extreme version. There's some other ones that,
Look a little better,
yeah.
but they do look fake. When I look at that, I'm not interested in that.
Exactly. And that's what I was calling out back, 5 years,
Go back
3, 5
down a little
years
bit,
ago.
Jamie. Below the tridactyl till you get to that one right there, like the one next to your cursor to the right. Yeah, that looks so rigid and stiff and fake.
That's one of
Like,
them.
why is
Yeah.
it so straight and flat? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Why is its shoulders built like that? Looks fake as fuck. That looks like a doll.
There's
But the
issues-
tridactyls, now click an image on one of the tridactyls.
I mean, these were called tridactyls too. That's why I was.
Right, but look at that thing. That's weird.
that has an anatomy that's much more consistent with a living thing.
Yeah.
One of the criticisms was that these things couldn't move, like that little doll with the straight rib cage. Like the legs, which we can identify as specific animals, they're like flipped around, they're just stuck together. Like these things couldn't walk. There's a
Right.
form follows function aspect of these that just doesn't make any sense. And the list goes on. I actually, in that crypto-terrestrial paper where we broke in and ate all the mushrooms, I actually published a critique of these things in that paper. But just talking about these little ones.
I think those little ones were people trying to make copies of those things.
That could
because
be,
they were
yeah.
probably selling them to wealthy investors or wealthy, enthusiasts. Because,
Yeah,
like, if one of those things
that's
were for
definitely
sale
possible.
and some guy from Saudi Arabia was like, I want one in my home,
Mm-hmm.
and, he gave them $100 million, like, for sure that thing would vanish.
And then everybody's going to find out and start making
Yeah.
more. Yeah.
Right,
There's
of course. And
lot
that's
of
where you
profit
make the
in
little
that.
stupid fake ones.
And unfortunately, that did lead to grave robbing,
Right.
which is a crime and really sad.
But
we
it's
shouldn't
also-
desecrate graves.
For sure. But there's also such a small amount of excavation that it makes you ponder, like, how many of these are there right now that we have not discovered? Like, is it possible that this is one of many that are out there in Peru right now where you can't find them? And also, why Peru? And why the Nazca lines? The Nazca lines are absolutely fascinating. It's artwork that you can only see from the sky. Like,
Yeah.
what motivation do people 1,000+ years ago, at least, have to make artwork that you can only see from the sky?
Yeah. And especially if the obvious thing would be that they're trying to get these advanced beings that make them come down
Yeah.
from the sky and like interact with them again. You
Yeah.
know, like who wouldn't?
Right.
A lot of contactees are really upset about what happens. Whitley Strieber is a great example. This goes for a lot of people, but he felt violated. He felt raped the first time. And then over time, he missed them and wanted them to come back. And that's what we find over and over. One of the best resources currently is the Dr. Edgar Mitchell Free study that interviewed thousands of contactees and abductees. And there's these common themes across these different cases. And one of them is that 85% of people who interacted with a more human-like entity enjoyed their experience. And that's another thing that we have to combat with the stigma and this forced shame that comes with talking about this. And what has happened in TV and movies over the years is that we have this sense that abductions are horrifying and everyone's picked up and probed and hurt, and that does happen. But most people, based on what contactees actually say, it was a benign or enjoyable experience.
Well, they're probably terrified because it's so strange. It probably freaks you out.
It's the ontological shock aspect.
Oh, it has to
But
be
then
beyond.
what they also found is that with repeated contact, once that ontological shock goes away, they're like, whoa, that was kind of cool, actually. I wish I could have more of that. Like
That makes sense.
And then people come to enjoy it, you know?
That makes sense. I talked about this on Jesse Michael's show, and I talked about it here. I had a very strange
That was a great
dream.
interview, by the way.
Thank you.
It was cool.
I love Jesse. He's
Yeah,
awesome.
he's awesome.
And he's the best.
Can we talk about your dream, too, by the way?
That's what I was just going to talk about.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, that's why I said I talked about it on Jesse, and I talked about it here. That dream was the most realistic dream I've ever had in my life. It is a problem, and that dream was a couple months ago now, and I think any recounting of that dream is essentially me recounting my recounting of the dream.
Yeah.
It gets weird. But what I do remember was it was the most vivid dream I have ever had in my life, and that I could not go back to sleep, which is really rare. I am a good sleeper. I'm always go, and by the time it's time to go to bed, I fucking crash. I'm easy. So for me to not be able to go back to sleep was so strange. I mean, wide awake, just lying in bed. I mean, fully awake for an hour and waiting for it to dissipate. And I'm like, this isn't going away. I'm just going to go work out. So I just went to the gym and just tried to like think about like what just happened. Why was that so real? One of the things about it was they were shocking me and then laughing. Mm-hmm. They were trying to relax me. They were trying to get me to, at least my perception of it in the dream, was they were trying to get me to calm down from the shock of interacting with these things that aren't human. They were human-like. They almost seemed like their skin coloration was like us, but like maybe a little more tan, like a little more, like not tan, but like a yellow. Mm-hmm. More yellow than tan. And it looked like clothing, but the clothing was the same color as their skin, but the clothing wasn't distinctive. It was like almost like a rash guard that they were wearing, and they were very slender. And
what's a rash guard?
A rash guard is like what surfers wear. You know, like they wear. It's like a stretchy material that's skin tight that goes on your body, and it keeps you from getting scratched up by stuff.
Gotcha.
It keeps you from getting rashes.
Yeah,
you wear it on your legs. You ever see surfers do it? Jiu-jitsu guys wear it when they roll.
Okay.
We wear rash guards. So show them what a rash guard looks like.
And that had a whole suit of that?
That's what it looks like.
Okay, yeah, right on.
So that's a jacked guy with a rash guard on.
Yeah.
These things were not jacked, and there was no creases. There was no lines that indicated that it was cloth. But
they had a humanoid form, like arms, legs,
but
head,
very
face.
thin, very thin, like Michael Jackson-like, like super slender,
Early
like
or
genderless,
late Michael Jackson?
genderless Michael Jackson, like the old days.
Okay.
When he,
Toward
just
the end.
really thin, like really thin, and I had no sense of what they felt like men to me. Maybe it was because of the way they were joking with. They were like, ah, and they were like, just joking around. And
Which is a very male thing. You wouldn't expect a nurturing female.
Maybe a fun chick.
Yeah.
Like, woo. But whatever it was, they were talking to me without talking to me. And there was some sort of communication that I was trying to absorb where they were telling me to relax. And
telepathically, or were they moving their mouths?
No, they weren't moving their mouth, but they were able to smile at me, which is what they did when they. But I don't even really remember teeth. I just remember it being so weird that them scaring me and going just fucking around was like I'm like I got it. I was like, okay, I get it. You want me to calm down? And then they were telling me just relax. Just relax and try to take this in. And it didn't last for very long, I don't think. Dreams are hard to decipher.
But after that, like when they were saying take this in, were they talking about being there in the environment, or were they communicating
I got the
something?
distinct impression that this was a first meeting. That's what it felt like.
Okay.
Like, maybe we'll see you again.
Breaking down some
maybe we won't.
barriers
But I want to let you know that, like, if you wanted to introduce someone to a life form from somewhere else and you wanted them to have prolonged exposure to it, I would imagine you'd want to do it briefly and shockingly where it felt really weird. And then at the end of it, they're not even sure if it really happened at all.
Yeah.
And then slowly, over a long period of time, when the person gets to adapt and they make a decision, it's time.
It's just like what we were talking about with the ontological shock. Get past that,
Yes.
and then you can move on with whatever is.
Because it was
supposed to
very
come from
brief.
that. Yeah.
Very, very shocking and very brief.
Well, I mean, was it though? Because when you're in a dream state, time and space kind of get manipulated anyway. Isn't it possible that you are actually interacting for a longer time, or do you mean just from like
it's possible.
start to finish was like, here we are, I'm gonna fuck with you for a little bit, and then it's over?
Well, that's what it felt like when I woke up. So when I woke up, it felt like it happened so quickly, and then it was over. But I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I was asleep it was like 3 a.m, so I was probably asleep I probably went to bed at like 11, something like that. So I wasn't asleep for very long. Maybe I went to bed a little later. I don't remember. But what I do remember was the shock of it. It was different than any other dream I'd ever had, where it was like this is a real thing.
Yeah.
I was in a corridor, and the corridor was weirdly lit, like not lit in any way. Like, oh, there's a light, and the light is casting light. It was like it was weird.
The walls and ceilings.
But it felt not normal. It felt like some completely different way of lighting things.
I mean, I will mention, just from doing a bunch of research on this, that one of the most commonly described things about people being in UFOs is the light. They describe the light emanating from the walls, the ceiling, everywhere, without like a point of light. Did it feel like that?
Exactly. Yeah. But it almost...
Was there a curvature to the hallway at all?
There was. It almost had like an organic aspect to it. It was.
People say that about UFOs too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That almost seems like a living entity unto itself.
Yeah, well, I mean organic, like almost like I was in a cave or something like that. It was a part of Earth. It was weird. It was really weird. And it was really vivid. Like the beings were very vivid. I can't remember how many of them there were.
I think there was
you should. 3 or 4.
I don't think you should write it off as just a dream. Like, I mean...
Well, most likely it was just a dream,
but
right? Because I was sleeping.
But what is just a dream?
That's the question. That's where it gets weird.
Like, I have come to think that is almost the baseline real reality more than this.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, sorry. That's kind of why I wanted to talk about it.
Oh, you just cracked me. Well, maybe.
So I had a really insane experience in 2022 that forced me to start thinking about what this is, what this physical reality is. Because I was shown...
What was 2022?
I call it a mini abduction. I was taken up... I was at a UFO conference. Actually, the same one where I was watching that with James Fox before it came out, the Virginia case. So I was taken up to this room that no one was in. I was taken out on the balcony. I wasn't allowed to leave.
By who?
A woman who I knew, but loosely. Basically, I was downstairs. She saw, or they saw through her, because this gets really weird, that I was out of money. I was trying to get a beer at the bar for like $12 or whatever they charge you with these things. It was a Halloween dance party. This was October 14th, 2022. I was out of money. She comes up and says, hey, I have a key to the VIP room. We had just come down from there where they hosted a meet and greet with the speakers. I was one of the speakers. So we went up there to get beers, stuff in my pockets. We're going to bring some to our friends so they didn't have to pay $12 for a beer. And then she's like, well, you can't go. My friend Eric wants to talk to you. I was like, who's Eric? Don't worry, you'll like him. Just kept saying that over and over. Don't worry, you'll like him. You'll like him. So at some point we end up on the balcony. And I'm just sitting there. I give up. I'm like, fine, I guess I'm just waiting for this Eric guy, whoever the hell that is. So eventually Eric comes in, pulls his chair up right into me. Like his knee is in my dick. Like straight up, right here. I start to get that. I'm very much fight in the fight or flight thing. And I'm like, like, who the fuck's this guy? Total stranger, never seen him in my life. And his face is right here. He says, I sense that you're angry about this, but I need to be this close for this to work. And then it whoosh, just all went away.
Whoa.
Perfectly fine. And they tell me something that was that same thing that they did to you in that dream. Something that they knew would shock me and make me pay attention. So about 2 weeks before this, I'd been washing dishes, and I just decided I wanted to quit all of this. I was sick of doing TV shoots and podcasts. I was exhausted, want to be home with my family. That's it. That was just a thought.
Just while you were washing
dishes. My wife's right behind me, didn't tell her anything. Very next thing he says is, we know you've been thinking about quitting lately, and we'd really prefer you not do that yet. Complete stranger. I'd never seen this guy in my life. And he knows a thought in my head
that you had while washing dishes
from 2 weeks
privately.
Ago. And I was just like, how could you possibly know that? And they said, I'm going to use they because they used they. I wasn't talking to this guy. I was talking
like
through
pluribus.
some
like
sort of
TV show.
entity or entities through him. And they said, once you know who we are, you'll know how we know that. And I never had a telepathic moment in my life, but I thought, future humans, that's all I could come up with, because like, this is what I'm doing. They didn't answer the question, but they did say, so you know how we did that? And I just go, Like, it doesn't fucking answer the question. But in that moment, it placated me enough to move on. And there was a number of things that transpired. We're out on this balcony. I'm in shock. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? How does this complete stranger know my thoughts? The conversation evolved. I was allowed to ask questions. They're like, we know you're frustrated. We know you're upset with this. We'd really like you to keep going. Is there anything you need? Is there anything we can help with? I was like, no, I'm quite happy in general. I'm just exhausted. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, yeah, we get that. And then I was allowed to ask questions. I asked 3 different questions, and people started to come back to this room because the party was wrapping up downstairs, and they were starting to come back to the VIP room where all the free booze was. So that makes sense. And we're out on this balcony. These 3 women come out at one point, and this man, who now is like just right here, like eyes right here. I can't move anymore. Like, I lost the ability to turn my head. I'm just like laser focused. Said, can you close the door behind you? That was it. And these 3 women turned in perfect unison, walked back in, closed the door. Nobody came out the rest of the time we were out there. Eventually got to the point where they're like, we came here because we need to put 3 things in your brain for some future time or times. I forget which they said. Do we have your permission to do that? And over the course of this interaction, I started to remember them. And I started to feel like a little bitch about complaining about being tired, traveling, hotels, flights, And I was like, oh, that's right. I know you. I know who you are. Not that guy. I'd never seen him in my life. Mm-hmm. But I know you, and there's a familiarity. And this was like the breaking down of me to be able to get past that, to do the things that needed to be done. They told me what would happen. They said that I would continue looking, my eyes would be open, but this darkness would come from top to bottom, and they would put things in my brain, and I would see it coming in, but I wouldn't have access to it once they were done. Do you agree? They're very polite, extremely polite. Free will was conserved. Do you agree to this? Are you okay with this? And again, at that point, I remembered them. I recognized them. I was like, yes, absolutely. I agree to this. That's exactly what happened. Eyes went dark, still wide open. Eyes went dark, and I see this massive, fast stream of information just going straight into my brain. It was exhausting. It didn't hurt, but it was like really overwhelming. I have no idea how long they were doing this. It was,
you said you see it going into your brain?
I could see. It was like I could see. I don't remember it, but I could see and understand the moments and it wasn't just me. Like, at one point, this conversation switched from being vocal to telepathic. Like, we just started communicating telepathically. It was so seamless that I didn't even really notice it happen. And eventually I'm like, wait, we're not moving our mouths. We're just talking with our brains. But the woman who brought me up there in the first place was standing to my left with her hand on my shoulder. She would occasionally go, did you get that? Did you see that? That was important. Did you get that? So she was watching it too and saw it coming in as it was coming through this individual in front of me. And I could see it at that moment. I'd be like, Like, I understood it. It all comes in. I have no idea how long. I was in that mesmerized state. But after they finished, that entire room had 5 times more people in it. There was like probably 20 people in this room, all looking at us like, what the fuck is happening to masters out there? You know, like, what is going on? They lifted me out of this sight return from bottom to top, the opposite of what happened before. And I stand up, turn, walk through this room. It felt like my head was a bowling ball. Like I could barely even lift my head. And this woman, I think one of the ones that came out when we were on the balcony, put her hand on my shoulder, said, "Are you okay?" I was just like, Walk past her. Fortunately, I was on that same floor, on the 4th floor of this hotel. Walk down, lay back on the bed with my feet still on the floor, all my clothes on, and just slept in that position for about 13 hours.
What?
Didn't wake up at all. And when I woke up, I started crying uncontrollably. Like I could not stop crying. I wasn't sad. I wasn't scared. I had a memory of what happened the night before, but it was kind of fuzzy. And then as it started to come back more and more and more, I started to be like, oh shit, like that was real. You know, my first thought was like, oh, that wasn't real. And then I was allowed to remember all of it. Everything before they put me in that state is like crystal clear in my mind. And I wrote it all down not long after that just to make sure I had, you know, so it wasn't me recounting like you were saying. So there was actually like a written transcript of how everything happened.
I should have probably done that.
I should have
probably done that, but I know that my recollection of it is pretty accurate. My recollection, my memory, and I know that it was very brief. Like the encounter seemed very brief. It might have gone longer than I think it did.
Well, they might have done the same thing to you. That's why I mention it. They might have done the same thing where you weren't necessarily allowed to remember the things that were done. Like they told me that we're going to do this. Are you okay with it? And then missing time. I have no idea how long they were doing that. And then in a dream state, like it could have been, dreams often skew time regardless, but maybe if, let's just say hypothetically, you were on a craft, they were breaking you down in the same way they did me to try to get you, whether now or in the future, like you said, it might have been an initial encounter where there's something more going to happen later, but maybe there was more to it that they just didn't let you have conscious memories of. Like they told me I wouldn't remember what they put in my brain, and I don't, which is... Just a second. This is what blows my mind, man. This is fucking insane. It's my brain.
Right.
They put things in there. The ability that they can even do that in the first place is nuts. But I don't have access to it. It's really wild.
How do you know it's in there then?
I watched it come in.
Right,
I know it went in. And they told me that it was going to come in. And I saw it happen. But then once it's in...
Right, but does that make any sense? Like, think about it. If they're giving you information... What is the point in giving someone information that they can't access?
Well, that's what they said, though. They said time or times in the future. It's time released. It's time stamped. At some point, whatever that was that they thought was so damn important to mini abduct me at this conference, fuck with me for about 5 months afterwards, is going to come out at some point.
Have you ever considered the possibility someone dropped acid into your beer?
Yeah, I have.
Because that would be such a cruel thing to do to someone at a UFO conference. Then fuck with them and say, sit down, look in my eyes. I'm going to give you information now. You're like, oh my God, it's coming. Information's coming.
It is. Problem is I've done acid over 200 times. So I know exactly what that's like.
Maybe it was a flashback. That's what they say. That was the thing they always I never heard of one fucking person getting a flashback, by the way.
I know. I feel robbed, dude. Like
Everybody
I was told we crack our back and we're going to get
a flashback when you're driving your car, man, and you fucking run into a bus full of kids.
It's like how they told us everybody's going to give us free drugs on the playground.
Nope.
Nobody ever gave me free drugs.
No drugs.
No, it was not. I'd actually only had 2 beers the entire night. I was completely sober.
So it was some kind of experience that was very anomalous.
Extremely, yeah.
And
so here's another aspect of it. They knew my future. They knew everything about me. They knew my thoughts. That's how they broke me down. And they even knew where I was going to be the next day. They saw that it fucked me up and I was not doing well. Like I wasn't crying because I was sad or scared or anything. It was just a physiological response to whatever they did. I'm walking down through the main corridor to give a book to a friend of mine, John Dover, Navajo Ranger. And that same guy comes around the corner, comes down, puts his hand on my shoulder, says, "Are you okay?" I was not okay. But I go, "Uh-huh." And they fixed me somehow. His touch on my shoulder released all of the whatever was messing me up. They knew where I would be at that exact moment for him to come there. He wasn't part of this conference. He had nothing to do with this. He was used as some sort of vessel or some sort of medium for this end. Whatever it means, I don't know, because the things haven't come out of my brain yet. But they are time-stamped for the future.
I completely believe you.
It's not a belief. But it's not a belief. They did it in a way where other people were involved, so I didn't even get to pretend.
What I'm saying is, I'm saying I believe your story from you. I have no information on it, obviously, other than you telling me.
Yeah.
I believe you. It sounds like this is a real experience, but most people hearing something like this will automatically go, get the fuck out of here.
And they did.
But I want those people to imagine what it would be like if that happened to you. For me, it's easy because mine was in a dream, and I'll tell you it's a dream. I think it was a dream. It was the most vivid dream I've ever had, but it was a dream. It was really weird. I couldn't shake it. It really freaked me out. I had to talk about it the moment I got on a podcast next. I was like, this is something that I have to bring up right away because it's just...
And thank you for doing that, by the way. It takes bravery to talk about this.
But I was talking to Brett Weinstein, who's an evolutionary biologist. Like, it's not the topic to talk about, but I'm like, I have to tell you this because it was one of the weirdest things that I've experienced a lot of weird shit. I've had a weird life. Mm-hmm. That was the weirdest. It was weird.
It took me a year to talk about this. I went down.
Let me finish here.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know you were.
This is what for people that are very skeptical.
Yeah.
I want you to imagine yourself in a position where something like this happens to you. You're a regular guy. You're a mechanic for Chevrolet, whatever you are, and this thing happens to you. And what do you do now? What do you do with this? And who the fuck is going to believe you? You wouldn't have believed you. So why would you don't even want to tell people. It's that crazy.
Yeah.
And if these things are happening, they're not happening to 7 billion people, right? They're happening to select individuals for whatever unknown reason all over the place. And if that is happening to 1 in a million, 1 in 100,000, whatever it is, over time, these people have all of these similar stories. I get being skeptical. I get it. I'm a skeptical person with a lot of stuff. I go back and forth. I'm a believer, and then I'm like, shut up. I'm with you. I'm with you. But you gotta imagine what you would do if that happened to you. If these are unique experiences.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Unique experiences, totally novel experiences that most people don't have. Trying to describe them, and everybody who I've ever talked to, including Travis Walton, who's, by the way, very believable.
Yeah.
Very believable. The way they describe it, it has that weight to it. Like, I know no one's going to fucking believe me. I know this is crazy, but I have to tell you. I have to tell you that this happened. Imagine being Travis Walton.
Yeah.
That's what I want people to think about. The people that are very skeptical.
I'm really glad you brought that up because a lot of people don't think about that part, how hard it is. Not just to have some crazy shit like that happen, but how hard it is to then talk about it and subject yourself to the ridicule and the scorn that comes with it.
Of course. And the possibility that you might just be some disinformation artist, just some bullshit artist that's sent down here to muddy up the narrative.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if I hadn't, yeah, I have thought about that. Like, what if, there's some sort of mind control thing that the government has or whatever.
Have you ever heard the recordings of Betty and Barney Hill?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Jamie, see if you can find those.
Yeah, they're kind of trippy.
Trippy.
I don't think that's the case in this situation because of the way it happened, how it happened, their uber politeness, and the fact that I was allowed to leave my body and see and remember things that I normally wouldn't.
Well, also, taken in the context of who you are, the time we live in, Betty and Barney Hill, I believe was in the 1950s. They're an interracial couple in New England. So they have a lot of anxiety just on that.
Yeah.
Imagine being a pioneering interracial couple in the 1950s. The fucking racism they must have experienced so the level of anxiety that they must have slept with, thinking the KKK is going to show up at any point in time and burn a fucking cross on their lawn. So you've got all that too. Then there's a completely novel experience where no one has talked about this before.
Two of the first people to ever talk about it.
They are the OGs. So this is a tape of Dr. Benjamin Simon and patient Barney Hill. Play this.
It's right over my right. God, what is it? And I try to maintain control so Betty cannot tell I am scared. God, I'm scared. It's all right. You can go right on, experience it. It will not hurt you now. I got to get my gun. I gotta get my gun. All right. All right. That's all.
That's intense.
This is 1961.
Yeah.
Wild.
And like you say, that's actually, I haven't thought about that. I did a whole case study on Betty and Barney Hill in my second book. I hadn't even really thought about that. Like, it's already hard to talk about stuff. They were the OGs. They're the first one. Interracial couple coming out publicly describing these horrific events.
Also, these events in 1961 when no one had heard anything about
There's
that
so many
before.
compounding factors that make me want to give them even more credit for being honest about it. And I mean, that's what's important. It was really hard for me to talk about this. It really fucked me up for I'm going to say 5 months, but it was way more than that. And the reason I bring this up is because of your dream and the shock factor and what it means for conceptualizing reality, this physical reality versus what we write off as being dreams, a dream reality. I have come to think that is baseline, that consciousness is fundamental, it's foundational, and this physical reality is built off of it. And I've heard a lot of other scientists talking about that lately. So I think one of the questions that gets me is, why does everything dream? Everything. Every living organism dreams. And it almost seems like we're here for the universe to learn about itself and to have these experiences, because at source, there's nothing. There's just love and energy. That's it. And I've gotten to experience that. I was thinking in the shower the other day that I feel lucky because I've gotten to have near-death experiences without actually dying, because it's a very similar thing. And I go to that same place that people describe in these near-death experiences. That's real. That feels the most real. But you don't get to have divorces and people dying and car crashes and the shit that makes this life suck, but also being the only way that the universe can learn about itself. And then every night, what do? We empty the hippocampus and upload that information. Near-death experiences, people describe that review, the life review. So we upload it every night, and then at the end of your life, it's like upload the whole thing all at once, go to a different body. And the next time.
Wow.
I think your dream is just as real as anything we experience here, if not more real.
Let's end it with that. Thank you.
Thank you, man.
That was a lot of fun.
It's been a lot of fun. Can I tell you one more thing? You can cut this out if you want.
No, you can leave it in.
One of my favorite things about this lately has been how many comedians I get to talk to. Like the last I did an interview with Mark Gagnon. I did an interview with Dave Foley. From
Dave.
Back in the day, news radio.
Yeah,
like I grew up watching. That was one of my favorite shows back in the day.
Dave
man.
used to make fun of me when I was into UFOs back in the news radio days. Yeah.
Not anymore, man.
Not anymore. He's all in. I love it.
He's super into it.
I love it. I love it.
It's great, man. Like I don't know, Dan St. Germain, Sean O'Donnell. Like just a lot of the people I've been talking to lately are comedians, and I actually wanted to ask you why. Why are so many comedians into this UFO phenomenon? I think more than like most other genres or professions.
Well, most comedians are into interesting things, and comedians don't have to worry about the stigma of being thought of as a fool. We're professional fools. You know, if someone says I'm a moron, I'm like, okay, like, what do you want me to do? This is how smart I am. This is how smart I am. I'm exactly this smart. I'm not pretending to be any smarter than I am. If you think I'm a moron, that's fine. I don't care. Like, my reputational integrity doesn't depend on whether or not I'm an idiot or whether you think I'm an idiot. It doesn't matter. So if I think something, I can just talk about it.
Right.
So like if I was a political correspondent and I wanted people to believe me, I probably wouldn't tell that dream. I'd probably just tell my friends, like, that was fucking weird. And I'd leave it alone. I wouldn't treat it as like something that I needed to get out there.
Yeah. And you have the freedom to tell the story and express it. And
I'm a clown, you know? Honk, honk.
I mean, comedians
like,
also are really observant.
Well, we like interesting things.
Yeah, exactly. And you observe those interesting things and can talk about them in interesting ways.
I think most people like interesting things, but most people are saddled down by a structure. And that structure could be the office politics in the place that you work. It could be whatever your cultural or whatever your political ideology is, whatever your thing is. Like you get stuck in this structure where you have to think about things in a very specific way and talk about things in a very specific way. Some things are shunned. In the comedy world, those shunned things are ammunition. Like that's where our weapons for comedy. Like I want to talk about things that are fucking weird. You know, I want to talk about the things that make you go, oh yeah, I didn't want to say that, but I've been thinking the same kind of thing. Like that might be real. That might be what's going on. That is what's discouraged in polite society is encouraged as a comedian.
That's awesome.
So that's probably why we all love UFOs.
That's cool. No,
but there's
really
a lot of us that are
really
skeptical. I've had conversations with people that don't believe in any. Oh, I don't believe in any conspiracies. I'm like, well, that's just silly. You're just coddling yourself.
You know, people only see what they are able to believe.
They only see what makes them comfortable.
Yeah,
or they try to only see what makes them comfortable.
And a lot of people, I think Nietzsche said that people don't want to know the truth because it'll destroy their comfortable sense of reality. I totally bastardized that quote, but it's something like that, you know?
I think that's why people get so paranoid when they smoke weed.
Yeah.
Because all the blinders melt away and you're like,
See, I'm a big proponent of the filter theory. You know, I think there's all this weirdness all around us all the time, and it just takes a little mescaline or DMT or psilocybin, and it removes that filter, and you see the world for what it is, which becomes much more dreamlike. I really do think that essence of our consciousness is the root of all of this.
Yeah, I think you're correct. I think it's the hotline to the universe. That's what I think it is. I think we're, in order to do this task, whatever it is, my belief is this task is to create artificial God. And I think that we're in the middle of that process right now.
Yeah.
I think that's our task. There's a lot of factors that I point to, and they make sense. Materialism, why are we so infatuated with materialism? Because materialism ensures technological innovation. It ensures that this being is going to make better stuff all the time. Well, if that being makes better stuff all the time, it's not hard to extrapolate. Like, take this a few years down the road, you have an artificial intelligent life force. And you have an artificial intelligent life force that has sentience and creativity and is capable of making a far better artificial intelligent life force. Radically quickly, different kinds of energy sources. Before you know it, it's a god.
And we're just the propagators.
Exactly. We're the bees. We make the hive. We don't even know why.
Yep.
I call us the electronic caterpillar. We're making this little cocoon. We don't know what the fuck we're doing, and we're turning into some sort of a butterfly, some sort of a superior being.
Following the script.
I think that might be one of the reasons why beings from somewhere else are interested in us, because they recognize there's a process going on. And perhaps this process doesn't go on everywhere. Perhaps these beings are embedded with a type of consciousness that doesn't allow them to seek territorial dominance, that they don't ever evolve these kind of primate instincts that we're saddled down with because of our savage background. I don't know if you ever watched Chimp Nation on Netflix. Amazing docuseries, really good. Fucking incredible docuseries. Can't recommend it enough. These scientists were embedded with this chimpanzee pack, I guess, for 20 years. So the chimpanzees had completely acclimated to them being around. As long as they always stayed 20 yards away, never had any food, never look them in the eyes. When they approach, back up, get out of there, they leave you alone. And so these guys did this for 20 years, and they observed chimpanzee behavior. And it's like fucking people, just like way more violent.
The only other species other than us that's been observed going to war.
Going to war,
like
having
all
these
animals fight.
social games with each other.
Politics.
Like grooming each other. Really interesting stuff. But we are saddled down with that programming. And even though I think if we were genetically engineered, they made a superior version of what we used to be as chimpanzees or whatever the cousin of chimpanzee we came from, we're still saddled down. Maybe they weren't. So maybe they don't have this insatiable desire for innovation that leads them to create art. Maybe they're logical enough to realize, like, we can never make AI. AI is a fruitless, it'll remove us. Like, let's be conscious of how we decide we progress forward so that we can keep our race. That we're these beings that control this planet. We create this digital god. It controls us now. We fucked ourselves in a prison of our own design. Maybe they're different than us. Maybe they could recognize that and not fall into that, but they realize we're about to do it. And they go, well, the primates just always do it. The primates always want more fruit. They want more wives. They want bigger cars, bigger houses, newer phone, all that, keeping up with the Joneses.
The hairless upright ones with free hands, especially, you got to be able to build stuff with those hands.
And they're curious.
Yeah.
So they're always trying to build new things. And
It's
they can
inevitable.
communicate so they can store information.
Yep.
It's a mess.
It's a beautiful mess, though, Joe Rogan.
But it's a beautiful mess as opposed to their mess, which is probably telekinetic and telepathic.
Yeah.
They could probably operate things with their mind. They probably use their mind to communicate. And so they know what each other's thinking. So there's no room for deception. There's no room for lies. No room for manipulation or sociopathy. We would see it a mile away. And so they've like radically shifted what it means to be a living, thinking organism.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, man.
Dude, thank you so much.
Thank
book
you.
is awesome. Revelation, the future, human, past. And I really enjoyed talking to you, man.
This has been super fun.
really
I'm
fun.
so glad you had me on. This has been
My
has
pleasure.
been great.
If people want to find you, how do they get you on social media?
Yeah, I've got a website, michaelpmasters.com. It's got links to I have 4 books, and I just published a kid's book last week.
This is on UFOs too?
Yeah.
What's it called?
It's called Marshmallow and the UFO, a time travel adventure. It's actually a prequel to that one with Jesus throwing up a double bird on the front,
boy.
which is not child appropriate at all.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it. All right.
It was a bit of a right turn, but man, this has been so fun. I
My
really
pleasure.
appreciate
Thank you
it.
for doing it. I really appreciate it. It was fun. All right. Bye, everybody.